Across the energetic sprawl of a city of 21 million, one place stands alone in Mexico City, Estadio Azteca, the spiritual home of Mexican football. Here, the national team is truly unbeatable. This lesson the United States has learned time and again across several frustrating decades. The U.S.-Mexico soccer rivalry has a rough edge, a scrapbook of confrontations. With that history, to this marvelous venue tonight comes the U.S. national team. It's called a friendly. The atmosphere will belie that term. Only a handful of tonight's U.S. players have gone through this fire. The rest will shortly learn. As Mexico, exhilarated with the pride of their Olympic gold, looks to extend their mastery. The fiercest of rivals in the most intimidating of stadia, where the hopes of the visitors almost always die. When L3, the Mexican national team, play here, 105,000 proud and loud fans make their way into Estadio Azteca, contributing to perhaps the greatest home field advantage on the planet. And it is here where the United States once again will attempt to do something they've yet to achieve, which is to win a soccer match, a full international, on Mexican soil. From high atop Estadio Azteca, good evening from Mexico City, along with Casey Keller, Lexi Lawless, I'm Bob Lee. Tonight's match, well, Mexico is flush with the success 4 days ago, the Olympic gold in London. This match occurs about a year or so before an expected World Cup qualifier here between these two nations. This young American team, Alexi, what do they walk into tonight?
This is Thunderdome. This is, for me, the most incredible and unique environment in international soccer. What are you coming into? You're coming into altitude, smog, 100,000 people, and you're playing against an incredible Mexican team. It is difficult, but I'll tell you what, whether it was Casey or myself, after you have played in 90 minutes in Azteca, you are never the same, and most of the time, you're a better soccer player for going through the experience. So for these guys tonight, it is a wonderful opportunity.
Trial by fire.
Well, exactly. You have to kind of learn your way through the game for the first time. You understand what the altitude does to the ball. Moves in little different ways. It drops, it floats on you, it does different stuff. You make that first run. You're over 7,000 feet. You realize you're going to be breathing heavy. But then after about 15, 20 minutes, you realize, I can get through this. I can do it. But you have to play it to learn it.
It's a learning experience, certainly. As Jurgen Klinsmann says, we have to change the culture of the American team and expect to win games like this. There have been close calls for the United States here at 7,500 feet above altitude. At Estadio Azteca, you played there, 1997. The United States went down early, a man, and bunkered in with 10 men and held on for 1 point in qualification, the only point ever won in Mexico. 2 years ago, Charlie Davies, the early goal. It got chippy, as it usually does, between these nations. Mexico equalized also in the first half, and the late winner just contributing to the dominance that Mexico have. El-Tri in this building. You can look at numbers. You can look at and it's not just the United States that has a problem. There's an ambiance here that just says you can't win.
And they feed off it. Mexico feeds off it. Yeah, we talk about the numbers, but for me, it's about the rivalry. And I tell you what, I'll say it right now. I think this is the best international rivalry in soccer. Go ahead, send me your hate mail.
Brazil, Argentina.
No. This is it. This is it. And I know I have a background in it, but I'll tell you what, whether it's the fans or whether it's the player, it gets ugly. But this is a game that you want to watch for what happens on the field, what happens off the field.
You've got to believe you can win, though, for the United States team. And Jurgen says this is something he has to inculcate into his team.
Well, and that's what's tricky. You're coming to a place where you never have won. And not only have we never won here, a lot of other countries have never won here as well. You look at that history at times, and it's in your mind as a player when you go somewhere. And for whatever reason, the U.S. has yet to break that. But at some stage, that has to fall. And will it fall tonight? We'll wait and see.
Well, the team that Jurgen Klinsmann has brought down to Mexico City only has 3 players who's ever played a match here at Estadio Azteca. And as Klinsmann told us earlier, this is a match the United States expects to win.
For our players that have respect for the opponents, have respect for the countries we're playing against, but also have the belief to say, with all due respect, we are here to win the game.
This is going to be an experience you won't get anywhere else, and this is going to be something that's going to be really invaluable to us come qualifiers, to know what to expect when you're playing down here, to know, to kind of already seen it, to not be so big-eyed and kind of just, you know, have it not be your first time. I think for better or for worse for us, it's going to be a great experience.
It will be a learning experience. Herculez Gomez knows about that playing in the Mexican League. So while it's not his first time here playing, it's his first time for the United States. And this is a young team. Only three, as we said, three players who have played here on the U.S. roster. And on defense, as we take a look at the U.S. lineup, there's some question marks tonight.
Yeah, I mean, this is a very, very inexperienced defense that's playing together. Organization and communication, Casey, you know it's so difficult in an environment like this. For me, a guy like Jeff Cameron, who just completed a move over to the EPL with Stoke City, this is a great opportunity for him. After this 90 minutes, if he goes on, and 2 years from now, you are watching a guy like Jeff Cameron starting for the U.S. in Brazil in the World Cup, he can reference back to this 90 minutes, win or lose. And it's important that he's out there and he's a leader and he's communicating in a very difficult environment.
Well, he can build a lot of confidence. Then you got Edu next to him, normally a midfielder, sliding back into that defensive role. And then you have the little flip-flop and what's going on defensively on the outsides. Johnson, who's been playing on that left side, now goes to the right. Castillo comes back in. He needs to show Jurgen Klinsmann that he can play on that left-hand side.
And if you're a keeper and you've got, I won't say makeshift, but a different back line in front of you, what does Tim Howard have to do additionally to what he might normally do?
Well, that's what's tricky. You're trying to communicate with these guys to get them in the right positions. But when you have 60, 70,000 people in here, it's going to be very difficult to be able to do that. So Tim's going to have to do a lot.
It's a risk. Jurgen Klinsmann says we have to recognize the risk when we ask players to either step into a different position, as Maurice Edu is, and also put them out there to learn by walking through the fire.
Yeah, but there's nothing's going to happen. There's no result if they lose tonight. But as I said before, there's no consequence. But that 90 minutes, even guys that don't have a lot of experience, that experience that you get playing in Azteca is going to be fun. As far as I'm concerned, this is a gift from the Federation, from the Mexican Federation. I have no idea why they wanted to play this game in Azteca, but take it right now, put it in your pocket, and use it. And so maybe you lose the battle, but you win the war.
You have to play qualifiers here, but this is officially the first friendly the United States have ever played here.
Exactly, and there's a reason for that, because they like to lock this place down, so it's a surprise when you come to those big matches. So some of those players that you just saw who don't have a lot of experience necessarily with the national team, this is a huge leap forward. If they can gain some confidence out of this match going into qualifiers, that's a big advantage for the U.S.
It's a graduate level course in his learning experience. Ian Dark, Taylor Twellman calling tonight's match. Gentlemen, so many storylines and anticipation and expectations here tonight at Azteca.
Yeah, you're right. It looks like a mission impossible. No Michael Bradley, no Clint Dempsey, the captain, Carlos Bocanegra. Mission impossible. Do they have the personnel for the job?
There's only one way to find out, isn't there, Ian? And we heard Jurgen Klinsmann in the press conference yesterday talk about you can't assess players unless you take risks. He's taken some risks. Cameron, Edu, at center back, out of position, in an environment where communication is so difficult. They're being put to the test tonight. Jurgen Klinsmann's going to get some answers.
His competitive juices were flowing at the press conference yesterday. I tell you that he didn't like it when he was reminded the USA had never won in Mexico. And he seems fired up for this, doesn't he?
Well, he is, but rightfully so. Look at what the Mexican Federation has done. The under-17s have won the World Cup. The under-20s successful. And then the gold medal for the Olympic team for Mexico. The pressure's on. When your rival's successful, Jurgen Klinsmann's feeling that pressure right now.
One man who knows all about the hostile Azteca, of course, is Landon Donovan, and he's talking now with Monica Gonzalez.
Landon, you've played here in Azteca Stadium in World Cup qualifying games. You know what it's like. When you talk to the younger guys, what do you tell them that can help benefit them and be ready for what to expect tonight?
You try to prepare as much as possible beforehand, but once the game starts, anything goes, and it's a little like qualifying where you don't have an avenue to speak to them because you can't really hear. So you got to be prepared beforehand, and then in the game they have to make their own decisions.
Tonight you'll be starting up top with Herculez Gomez. For the first time since the 2005 season, when between the two of you guys, you scored 23 goals, won an MLS Cup title. What can we expect from the two of you up top tonight?
We're both excited. We know each other well. I've known Herc a long time, and I know he's excited. He's playing here in Mexico now, so it's exciting for him to play here. We want to try to combine and be as dangerous as possible and try to score goals.
Thank you, Landon.
All right, thank you.
Landon Donovan, who scored that famous World Cup goal against Mexico in the 2-0 win in South Korea. Was it really a decade ago? Yes, it was. Landon Donovan will need to be in top form tonight, and so will the rest, Bob.
That's right, and I'll tell you that it was a decade ago. It still stings the Mexican national football consciousness. A 2-0 loss to the United States back in the Olympics in 2002. But this match occurs just 4 days after the Mexican gold medal performance. They took it to Brazil and did such a job in winning in London at Wembley Stadium. Uribe Peralta with a pair of goals, a calling card in the hemisphere, national celebrations throughout Mexico, the greatest football achievement certainly for the Mexican nation. And a defiant C, we're probably climbing on top of you once again. The United States and top of the CONCACAF group, a statement by Mexico as they look tonight at this atmosphere. And we will see the Olympic team introduced at halftime, and that should be quite the moment. The lineup tonight, it's not the Olympic team. It's not the best that Mexico can put out there, but it's still very much a challenge. Chicharito, of course, is your marquee player.
It's still a great team. You got Chicharito up top. For me, looking at this Mexican team, their ability out wide, the ability to attack at speed from wide with Guardado on the left and Barrera on the right, that is the key to this Mexican team, shutting those guys down. Yes, they have other opportunities, but out wide, that's where you have to watch this Mexican team.
And then you got a little bit of a young and inexperienced center back tandem, and you know that Chicharito is going to try to get in behind him. He's going to make lots of runs. You have Angel Reyna, who's kind of stepping in just a little bit behind him, a little guy, but quick, leading goal scorer in Mexico in 2011.
And we talked about the opportunities for the young American players to both prove what they can do in a major game like this, even though it is a friendly, and also go through the fire here at Estadio Azteca. But for the Mexican national players, they've just seen these principally younger under 23 players win the gold. They're hearing footsteps. Their places in the lineup very much may be in jeopardy.
They just watched their entire country celebrate this gold medal winning team. And listen, all players have egos. They're going to see this team out here at halftime being celebrated. And this national team is going to see that and say, okay, we got to step it up. Individually have to step it up, and as a team. So all the focus right now is on this gold medal team, as it should be. But this full team is pretty good too.
Yeah, it's always a case. You see some guys below you doing well. You want to showcase yourself and say, hey, I've been here before. I'm going to show the manager that I still belong. And none so more as Ochoa in goal, because there's been a lot of pressure behind him.
Absolutely. John Sutcliffe, our colleague, will be covering the Mexican team tonight. And John, what about the pressure on Ochoa in the nets?
Well, no question. In the Mexican roster tonight, Ochoa has the most pressure. Recently, he's not the starter. That's Jesus Corona, who had a great run in the Olympic gold. He's also been the star in the World Cup qualifying. We could say Ochoa has two priorities tonight. Number one and foremost, make sure he's not part of the team that allows the U.S. to win for the first time in Mexican soil. And number two, send a loud and clear message to head coach Chepo de la Torre. Yes, there's a lot of good goalkeepers, but don't forget Mr. Ochoa.
Things need to be proven. Thank you, John, on both sides of the pitch tonight. We may not see a full sellout tonight because of the way the ticket prices have been scaled here in Mexico City, but still in excess. And it's a measure of the enormity of this stadium that a crowd of perhaps 60,000 might look lost, but it'll be a large crowd. Everything in soccer at ESPNFC.com. Debuting today on the web. Check it out for scores, for highlights, for analysis, for the stories of your favorite players and team all around the globe. ESPNFC.com. Countdown continues towards the kick. No more bitter rivalry. There's grudging respect at times, but that edge between the United States and Mexico, it's contentious. There's that wary back and forth. Where is the respective side of each in CONCACAF? Mexico claims they take that upper step right now. The United States looks to make a statement tonight. We look ahead at this rivalry. And the gap, is there one between these nations as we continue?
Futebol is the thread that connects all of Brazilian life. It's in our soil. It's in our roots. In every corner, all along the coast, a dance of the spirit in our hearts. More than a pastime, it's our national passion. The beautiful games next home, for the emotions, for the moments, for the colors of the cup.
Well, speaking of the World Cup, Azteca, the only stadium to host two World Cup finals, 1970 and 1986. And here on the grounds is commemorated the hand of God goal from Maradona in the quarterfinal against England back in 1986. Of course, that spectacular goal he scored 4 minutes later. And the game of the century in that semifinal in 1970. 5 extra time goals between Italy and West Germany. Looking ahead towards Brazil begs the question, where is qualification Right now in CONCACAF, the United States, by virtue of goal differential, is on top of its group. Jamaica sitting in second place and upcoming a very critical and crucial home-and-home. First, September 7th at Jamaica, then September 11th back here in the States. The United States needing to get results and points there. Mexico on top of its qualification group. And a reminder, the top 2 teams in each of those respective groups among those that will advance to the final round of qualification. So there you see where could very well inevitably point towards a qualification game here in Azteca in the next 12 to 14 months as always. But the Olympic gold and other performances by youth teams from Mexico begging the question, who's on top right now in CONCACAF? By consensus, even Jurgen Klinsmann says you've got to tip your hat to Mexico. If there's a gap, how big is it between the nations?
Well, I think there might be a little gap right now, but I think if you go back into the mid-90s and then through the 2000s, the U.S. really took huge strides in going ahead of Mexico. And now Mexico, with the help of their youth system and having some great results in the Olympics, maybe have just, you take a Gold Cup victory as well in that, have just stepped ahead of the U.S. a little bit. But that gap can narrow and even go the other way very quickly with some very key wins.
If there's a gap, bridge it, okay? And when I look at this this situation, I don't think that there's necessarily that big a gap. And by the way, if there is a gap, it's cultural. And I don't think there's anything that
you got results, you got culture.
Of course you have results, Bob, but I don't think that you can change anything culturally. And I don't think the U.S. is not doing something that they should be doing. And by the way, all of this is about winning a World Cup. So it's all fine and well to talk about what they've done, and without a doubt, hats off, and you certainly hedge your bets. But ultimately, it's about how you do at a World Cup. And I think what the U.S. is doing right now in terms of development, maybe it's not yet where Mexico is, but I don't think you can look and say the U.S. isn't doing this, or the U.S. isn't doing this. Is there a gap? Maybe, but as I said before, figure out a way to bridge it, because by the way, the U.S. has been bridging it for years.
Is the gap larger today than it was 5 days ago before the gold medal? Certainly in public perception, it is around the globe. There's a huge futures market looking at Brazil when people talk about Mexico.
But there's been a long history of teams with successful youth programs that have never translated that youth success into full national team success at World Cup level. So I wouldn't get too carried away. Of course, are you happy when your teams are doing really well at the youth level? Of course, but it's not the end of the world. Jurgen Klinsmann told us today that he really felt that the U.S. could have shown very well at the Olympics if they hadn't made a couple big mistakes in qualifying.
That's a big if. They didn't qualify. And he talks frankly about the damage that he feels that lack of qualification did to some of the players who were in the U.S. U-23s. He feels that it was a debacle.
It was a debacle because they were, in a certain sense, they lost out on the opportunity of getting experience. We're talking about experience 90 minutes here at Azteca. The experience of going to a tournament like the Olympics and playing and participating, especially with what I feel is still a quality group. They didn't get it done, all right, and they certainly deserve criticism for not doing that. But I think Jurgen Klinsmann recognizes that it was a lost opportunity.
And the key is, can these players learn from those mistakes and get better because of it? And that's what we're going to have to wait and see.
But I still say that when all is said and done, the U.S. playing against Mexico, if they're playing up in the U.S. gets 3 points. If they're playing down here, Mexico gets 3 points.
Well, 10 years ago, they played in the World Cup. In the round of 16, they played on the other side of the planet. And we talked about that game earlier. If you'd asked the gap question a decade ago, the answer would have been USA, USA. This still stings the Mexican national mindset.
2-0. 2-0, that's all you got to say. At the World Cup, 2-0 against Mexico. And what are we talking about here? Like I said, we're talking about winning a World Cup. And this is a race to the moon, Bob. And I hope that the U.S. gets there first. And yes, you can talk about development. Yes, you can talk about hedging your bets. And yes, you can talk about all the wonderful things that Mexico has done here. But ultimately, it's about when you get to that World Cup, winning a World Cup.
What's different about this U.S. team in the 12 months since Jurgen Klinsmann has taken over? His first game as national team coach was in Philadelphia. It was 12 months ago, a 1-1 draw. He's had 12 months to put his system in, to inculcate this into the mindset, playing out of trouble, figuring things out on the go, attacking high. You may not see high pressure tonight because of the altitude. What's different now?
I think what he's really trying to implement inside this team is that they can control the flow of the match. No longer will the U.S. want to just sit back and maybe counterattack and hope for some set pieces and get some goals that way. He wants to see this team take the ball from the back through midfield and create chances all the way through. That's a lot easier said than done. So much of that depends on the players you have on the field, and are they capable of doing that? And that's what we're waiting to see. And I think Jose Torres has a great opportunity tonight, playing kind of behind the strikers, and to see if he can control the flow of a game in a big match.
In just a few moments, the players, respective respective sides will appear in the tunnel. They'll walk out. It's not quite a capacity throng, but the emotion and the noise will be there. Mexico and the United States. The shadows grow longer. Sun making its way towards the horizon at about 7,500 feet above sea level here in Mexico City, awaiting the appearance in the tunnel of Mexico and the United States. This is the 25th match of the United States national team, going back to the mid-1930s, where we've been playing in Mexico and yet to win a match. The closest, that Punto d'Oro, the point of goal that came in qualification back in 1997, playing for about an hour with 10 men. The United States getting a scoreless draw with Mexico. It's an amistoso. It is a friendly this evening, but so much on the line in terms of pride, and also the ability for many of the players on this U.S. starting 11, and each side will be allowed 6 substitutions, to make their point, to make their statement. There's Jeff Cameron in defense. We were chatting with him just yesterday, who's come back from Stoke City, about to begin playing in the English Premiership. A great opportunity to show that he, getting his 6th cap tonight, belongs here.
Yeah, we want to see some leadership out of him in the back. Doesn't have a lot of experience, but hey, this is a wonderful 90 minutes for him to put under his belt. Organizing, making the plays, and most importantly, and Jurgen Klinsmann harped on this in every talk that we had with him, a consistency, an individual consistency and a team consistency, and that's what he's working for. When I'm looking at this team right now, yes, the result is important, but more importantly is the individual performances, how they relate to where that player is right now, but more importantly, maybe even 2 years where that player is. And then collectively as a team, are we seeing some changes? Is it a more, to use Jurgen Klinsmann's lingo, a more proactive team, attacking? You can't just go everybody forward, but a more proactive team, attacking, playing out of the back, and maintaining possession.
But this team works and plays, and we report and observe and opine in the global village of 24/7, the Twitterverse, Facebook, nonstop media. Results matter. A result tonight, Casey, does matter, and Jurgen Klinsmann has said, yeah, I'm here for a result. There's a teaching part of it too, to learn, but results matter.
Well, big what Jurgen's really trying to instill in the players is that they can go anywhere and get a result. Don't be afraid of it. Go play, go prove yourself, and try to win.
And yet, he also has an out, because if he were to lose this game, it's not the full team. And if he were to have brought all the players in and lose this game, that would be a problem. So there is a little bit of a psychological play going on here.
And there are a variety of explanations as to why a number of European players were not brought in. The European season is just beginning. The Mexican League season is underway, and hence the appearance of 5 players on the traveling squad for the United States who play in the Mexican League, and of course have that added and very valuable experience of playing here at Aztec Stadium, which was constructed back in 1966. So many historic events have occurred here. This, the venue in 1968 at the Olympics for Olympic soccer. And through the years, you think of the, my gosh, that statue. We were having lunch before in the shadow of the Hand of God statue, where that moment where Diego Maradona punched it in and did redeem himself, I think, to the soccer gods, if you will, 4 minutes later with perhaps, is that the best goal you ever saw?
If it's not, I don't know what else could beat it. When you dribble a whole team and finish against a team of the quality of England, you got to just give your, that's what just cemented Diego Maradona as one of the best players, if not the best player of all time.
If you've just joined us along the way, welcome. We're in Mexico City. It won't be a 105,000 this evening. As we said, the enormity of Azteca is such that even a crowd of 50 or 60,000 would seem to be swallowed up. It will be loud here.
It's loud. It's loud. I just dodged the line that came at my head. So
that's an occupational hazard when you either play.
We're off to the races here at Azteca. That's par for the course, though, and I love it. I love it. It is an incredible experience, a unique experience. As I said before, for these players right now, they're going to take this and they're going to put this in the bank. And maybe 2 years from now, a player that we see out here on the field for the U.S. is representing the U.S. in the World Cup, and he can reference back and be a touchstone. I played that game in Azteca. Or maybe Jurgen Klinsmann turns and says, you know when I knew I had a player? That game in Azteca. He showed me something.
But the one thing you have to be careful of is you have to understand, too, that this is a friendly. And so you can't necessarily take the two of them and put them on equal par, because when you play in a qualifying game, it's a whole nother ball game, because that means so much to this country, and I guarantee it right now. If this was a qualifying game, there would not be an empty seat in the house.
Jose Manuel de la Torre is the Mexican national team coach in charge of tonight's selection. He knows, everyone knows that the expectations on Mexico ratcheted up with the gold medal. And everyone who bought a ticket to come here this evening came to, yes, watch Mexico play the United States, but also in the knowledge that at halftime, we hope to bring that to you as well. All the Mexican Olympic medal winners will be presented to this crowd. It was a very successful Olympics for the Mexican squad, not just in football. They won as many medals as more medals than they have in any overseas games, and it's an incredible moment of pride for the Mexican nation.
And you know what? I am happy. I'm happy for Mexico, and I am happy for CONCACAF because they showed well for the regions. And for many years, we've talked about how sometimes they don't get enough appreciation for the difficulties of playing and qualifying out of CONCACAF. A lot of people look down on CONCACAF, but I think with what Mexico did, with what Honduras did, that is important. I can even take a step back, as much as it may hurt that the U.S. wasn't there to do some good things. I think for the zone, it was good. For CONCACAF, it was good.
No, I agree with Lexi. It's times when, having played in Europe for so many years, you're always fighting that little stigma about CONCACAF. And every time a team advances out of the first round of a World Cup or is successful in a Youth World Cup or an Olympics, it's a big step for this region.
So Mexico on top of its respective qualification group. The United States leading, as we said, upcoming in September on the 7th, going to Jamaica, coming home on the 11th to play Jamaica. Two critical matches that will have a large voice in determining how important the subsequent games are. Then the top two teams from the last three groups currently playing will advance to a 16 group next year. The top three teams go through to Brazil. The fourth team goes into the playoff. What it comes down to, you can pretty much expect, if form holds, well, it's a little dangerous thing to say, but it's usually the case that Mexico and the U.S. will have a home and home when it really, really matters next year.
And as we get ready to have the players walk out, Case, you know, when you walk out for the first time in Azteca and you walk up that ramp and you see this Thunderdome type of atmosphere, it's incredible because we have stadiums in the U.S. that do hold 100,000 people, but they're graded. Azteca is straight up. It's almost impossible to see the sky when you walk out. And there is this buzzing, this incessant buzzing that continues from the time that you get out there to the time that you leave the field. It's quite remarkable.
It is extremely remarkable. And one, when you're a professional and you're at the highest level of whatever sport you're in, these are the games you dream of playing in. You and I were fortunate enough to play in a couple of them. And I know a lot of players are going to come away today knowing that they've been through something great.
The grade of the stands, the history, this perfect turf, the sun, little bit to go before it ducks totally behind the stands. Not a capacity crowd. It's a friendly. They scaled the tickets higher than normal here. It's about $32 US, we understand, to sit at the very upper reaches. Mexico and the United States make their appearance. Donovan, who took himself out of training yesterday after about 15 minutes, a bit of a precaution. We're told he is okay. And obviously, he's in the starting lineup for the U.S. United States trained here yesterday. They trained at the local club site the day before that. U.S. has tried over the years various strategies, training at altitude, flying in and playing immediately, principally in here for 2 days. The anticipation might be a friendly, but it is, as we said, the fiercest rivalry certainly in this hemisphere, and my friend Alexi says, he says the greatest on the planet.
El himno nacional de México.
That's what it means to play in the United States and wear the Mexican green shirt in Estadio Azteca. Fiercest of rivals, tremendous venue. Ian Dark, I was surprised to learn last night this is your first visit to this marvelous soccer temple. Welcome.
Yes, even I was too young for those two World Cup finals here, 1970, 1986, but it's great to be reporting from one of the citadels of world football. Hostile atmosphere for the United States, as always. They need 11 primed to perform, but Taylor, who particularly is your Gatorade man who's primed to perform here?
Well, with all the discussion of the inexperience in the back four, and Jermaine Jones in front of them will have to be huge. He needs to be very disciplined with his positioning, not roaming all over the field, but most importantly, being an option for that back four to release pressure and keep possession.
So let's check for any latecomers on the lineups. Let's start with the United States. And if they're going to do it here, win in Mexico for the first time, they'll have to do it with a somewhat makeshift side. Only 6 of the team who drew the recent World Cup qualifier in Guatemala. It's an experimental defense there with Maurice Edu partnering Jeff Cameron. Fabian Johnson switched to right back, probably to look after Guardado. Landon Donovan's next goal is his 50th for the USA.
Yeah, the key is Gomez up front needs to run the channels in order to open up space for Torres and Donovan underneath.
As for Mexico, none of their gold medal winning Olympians here, but you will see them at half-time in a party mood. But they do have 8 of their World Cup side, led by Chicharito Hernandez, of course, up front. And it's a debut in midfield for Manuel Viniegra of Tigres.
Yeah, Guardado and Barrera out wide, love to take on players and then look for that killer ball in the seams to bring Chicharito in behind.
There he is, Chicharito Hernandez. He could be facing Tim Howard again as early as next Monday night when Everton meet Manchester United in the opening game of the English Premier League. Fantastic record he's got for Mexico.
Yeah, I can guarantee you there's some pressure on Chicharito as well, with Robert Van Persie now signing at Manchester United. He wants to show his form right off the bat.
Landon Donovan there, who did cause a little scare for Jurgen Klinsmann in training last night. He came off. We wondered if he was injured, but he's been past fit to play. There is talk, though, isn't there, of he's talking about retiring at the end of 2013.
It's ludicrous. I mean, there's absolutely no reason for Landon Donovan to consider retiring at this time. He's still in his prime. It's a big night for that man, Ian.
Yeah. One of the few in this squad who ply their trade in Mexico. Jose Torres, USA looking for a creative midfield spark. Is he the man?
Well, what did Jurgen say to us this morning is that he needs to be consistent. It can't be 1 out of every 5 games that he shows up. Tonight's huge. Right next to Donovan, in behind Gomez, finding those spaces, create and allow Gomez to get in behind.
Now, Mexican football on a huge high at the moment after winning the Olympic Championship for men, of course, at Wembley at the weekend against Brazil, and they hope to continue that party mood here against their greatest rivals, the United States. And I know Jurgen Klinsmann's thinking it might be a pretty interesting first few minutes here, trying to get a chance straight away right on the edge of the box, and there is a free kick here to Mexico. The United States won't be happy with the award of that from the Costa Rican official, Walter Coseda.
Oh, but right off the bat, you see Guardado find that little seam right behind Jermaine Jones and Beckerman. That's a dangerous spot. Communication's very difficult here, and you can hear the buzzing. Need to stay compact, stay together. Guardado's going to roam around.
And Reina was the player brought down, a maverick who's been given another chance here tonight. He's yet to score for Mexico. Looks like he might be the one lining up this free kick, though. Danger straight away here for the US. It is Reina, and the wall did its job well. Vital for the USA that they get through the first 20 minutes or so and then grow into this game. But it's a fast start, as predicted by Klinsmann, from the Mexicans. Pereira trying to link up with Guardado on that side. One of Mexico's very best players, Guardado. He's just been transferred to Valencia, one of the top teams in Spain. Rodriguez to play it wide. Here's Guardado again, much involved. All Mexico in the first couple of minutes or so. Moreno here with a long cross-field ball. Mexico, like the United States, have started their World Cup qualifying group in pretty good form. In fact, a little better than the US. They've got maximum points so far. Doubleheader against Costa Rica coming up for them. US in action twice in a row against Jamaica next month. It's offside by a country mile for Pereira.
Yeah, but good early start from that back forward from the United States. The moment that ball's played negative from Mexico to push forward, calls that offside. It's difficult for communication, but if you can read your partner's body language, well done from Cameron and Castillo.
Substitutes tonight. There'll be 6 allowed later on. We hope it doesn't become too much like musical chairs. Just going through the top of your picture there. Will there be a debut, I wonder, for Matt Beasler from Sporting Kansas City, who are going so well in MLS? He hopes so. Chris Wondolowski might get another chance. Top scorer in the league yet again. Remember, the United States without principally Michael Bradley, who makes so much tick usually when he plays. Carlos Bocanegra, the captain, and Clint Dempsey, who could be moving any day now. We await news of that from Fulham.
And vice versa, Mexico missing players. I think it's a product of this international date. Is a real difficult one for some players to leave their clubs going right into their regular season.
Yeah, they're without Giovanni Dos Santos and Carlos Salcido, who are both at the Olympics. Gerardo Torrado's not here this time, and Rafael Marquez getting a little long in the tooth, perhaps. His days as a great Mexican international maybe drawing towards a close.
Well, he needs to start playing at the Red Bulls if he wants to get back into this national team.
Mexico rated 18 in the world by FIFA, and the United States currently not too flattering at 36, which is a bit hard, in my opinion. Mind you, England are at number 3, and Brazil are 13. So don't believe all you read in the FIFA rankings. Can the US come up with something here? Torres, and that excellent left foot of his. Not enough elevation. It was back in by Kyle Beckerman, the Real Salt Lake player. And a bit of misunderstanding there, and Gomez got in. Was he pushed there? He thought so. Interesting.
It was very interesting. It was Beckerman, though, keeping that play alive. The ball was cleared, putting it back in the box, and Gomez was in the right spot at the right time. Little back shoulder pull. It's a tough call, but that one, sometimes you see it being made.
Jurgen Klinsmann a little irked at the press conference yesterday when reminded of the USA's failure to win ever in Mexico. Said it's something we aim to put right. We're here to win. That was a loosish ball, driven low by Castillo. No test really for goalkeeper Memo Ochoa, getting another chance, a controversial character. He's not first choice anymore. Jose Corona holds that distinction. Rodriguez to play it forward. Herrera, who had that unsuccessful spell with West Ham, he's back in Mexico now. Torres Nilo. Increasingly impressive figure at fullback. Barrera tried to keep that in. The bounce was a little unkind. It really is a dreadful record the US have, though, in this country, isn't it? Going back 75 years, just 1 draw and 23 defeats. Hernandez won the ball back. Barrera's going to play this back in again.
But I think that, you know, you heard Alexi talk about it in the pregame, is the fact that I can't believe Mexico would want to play a friendly at Azteca. I mean, you're now allowing Jurgen Klinsmann and U.S. Soccer to come in here, get acclimated before qualifying comes next summer. This is a gift for U.S. Soccer.
As he said, he doesn't want the players coming here in the World Cup qualifier with their eyes too wide open and agog at it all. So it will be a useful learning experience. Oh, and it's gone in behind that one. Just for a moment, Cameron caught up with the ball behind. Chicharito was hunting but couldn't quite latch onto it. That's a good point you make about Hernandez. He's probably number 4 striker at Manchester United. Now they've signed Robin van Persie today.
There's no doubt. Robert van Persie, you got Danny Welbeck, Wayne Rooney. I mean, what's Berbatov? 6th, 7th on the pecking order now?
And they can't sell him, apparently. Very upbeat these days, the Mexicans, and you've got to be careful about playing too high a line, the USA, because of the speed of Hernandez and getting behind. Yeah. Anything that beats those defenders, you're not going to catch him.
No, and this is Chicharito's bread and butter. Peeling off that back shoulder right in between both center backs. It's just a nightmare to pick up.
Interesting to see how Maurice Edu gets on at the back. Change of role for him. He has played it occasionally in the past, but only very occasionally. Donovan thought about the shot, and then the pass just a little bit too wide, really, for Danny Williams.
Yeah, but Landon's in a great spot there. He needs to hit that. With the altitude here, the ball moves a little bit more. It flies a little bit quicker. He needs to have a hit.
And the goalkeepers will tell you that the balls are terrible to stop anywhere in the world, let alone at 7,000 feet.
Yeah, but who likes goalkeepers, Ian?
We've got 1 or 2 on the team here. Be careful. Not too far away from us. But it is a bit of a problem. Now, 1 or 2 people going into this kind of fearing the worst, that the USA, with 1 or 2 out, might take a bit of a hammering from a rampant Mexico. But the last 4 times they've been here, although they've lost, it's only been by the odd goal. Here's Barrera again. Good work from Cameron. He's got plenty of physicality about him. That's, I think, why Stoke City were attracted. They might use him holding midfield as well.
Well, that's what Jeff Cameron told us yesterday. He will be playing holding midfield, but this is a good read. Picking up the run from Chicharito. Good spot from Jeff Cameron.
Corner here for the Mexicans. It should not really be a problem for Tim Howard, though he has to give away the corner kick in the end. One of only 3 in the squad who have played in this famous stadium before, the others being Landon Donovan and substitute DeMarcus Beasley. And the Mexican corner, this time they go to short route. Guardado here to curl one in, going a long way. The tall Zavala was among those waiting. Torres Nilo with this throw here for Mexico. The stadium, by the way, opened in the 1960s. Since it became an outstanding edifice in Mexico City, Mexico have lost 8 of 119 games played here. That's how difficult it is to win in this place. Last team, Paraguay, 5 years ago. And that was a friendly. Nice velvet touch there by Reina. Only 5 feet 6 inches tall. He'll have the job of just playing the crafty role, getting into spaces and setting up Hernandez just in front of him. Torres Nilo, the tall left back, with the cross, bit of pushing and shoving going on there. Screams from the crowd for a penalty. The referee not interested. Fabian Johnson in the unfamiliar position of right back couldn't really deal with that. I think the reason they've picked him there, switching from left back to right back, is to look after Guardado, in theory anyway.
Oh, there's no doubt about that, but you see the relationship between Reina and Guardado. Guardado will slide inside, Reina will come out. That's key for right there. Danny Williams sitting in front of Fabian Johnson. Communication's difficult when players are interchanging that way. Who has who?
Isolated inside to Zavala. Zavala, who opened his Mexican account in the recent qualifier against El Salvador, and Moreno got the winner, the defender, with his first goal. Here's Reina. United States sticking diligently to their task and seeing if they can find things on the break. Jermaine Jones trying to feed it out to Danny Williams on this side.
But that's the perfect example right there, Ian. Good defensive shape, good win from Kyle Beckerman, but can the United States keep the ball? There's no reason when you're defending continuously to go on a rush, go bum rushing forward, keep that ball, knock it around. Have some possession themselves.
Not retaining the ball too well early on here, but the first 20 minutes, I think, is a little mini game in itself here, isn't it?
Well, there's no doubt about it. You're getting used to the environment. You're getting used to players you haven't played with recently. So you're sitting in there trying to get your feet under you, but 20 minutes into the game, then you got to start having possession and getting involved.
Here's Francisco Rodriguez. Now Pablo Barrera scored twice against the USA in the Gold Cup final in 2011. He ran riot that day, really. Mexico coming from 2 down to win 4-2 in a game which marked the end, really, of the Bob Bradley era. Looking for the little one-two. There will be a free kick given this time for the foul on Hernandez.
And this is a tough one for Modou. First foul's a yellow card, but that little touch, you see the understanding with Chicharito, knowing that he has a defender on his backside. Now for the remainder of this game, Modou has a yellow card. That's in the back of his mind. Can he now get up the backside of Chicharito every time? It's difficult.
Reina's hovering over it. Guardado as well with his good left foot. Super player Guardado, doesn't get many mentions. It's his 83rd cap, this one, for Mexico.
He's extremely underrated.
Here he is now. It is his left foot, and again the wall manages to stop it. Cameron with the header away. US on the back foot mostly in these early stages. Guardado again. They know he's going to come on that left foot. They couldn't stop him doing it. This is a monumental task for an experimental defense. There's no two ways about it.
No, and we are at the 15-minute mark, but Guardado's been all over the field. Down the left-hand side, down the right-hand side, getting on the ball. Still, the U.S. has weathered the storm. 15 minutes in.
Here comes the corner kick. It was too long for Chicharito Hernandez, who's very much the darling, of course, always of the Mexican fans. Just about every shirt you see, fans coming into the Azteca tonight with that name on the back.
I don't think it was just about Ian.
Jermaine Jones splitting the ball wide. Donovan. He scored 5 times in his career against the Mexicans, Landon Donovan. Here is Donovan on the ball now. Muscular challenge. This fixture, kind of where Jurgen Klinsmann came in. He started his reign with a 1-1 draw in Philadelphia against tonight's opposition. The USA finished strongly in that game. Lost the last half an hour, might have won it. But Mexico were dominant early, weren't they, that night, as they are here?
Very similar. A lot of possession, numbers behind the ball, finding seams. But it's, can they get Donovan and Torres on that counter and get Gomez in behind?
Well, I'll be rushing back for the start of the English Premier League season, starting on Saturday. Arsenal against Sunderland. Coverage starting 9:30 on ESPN2, and then we switch at 9:50 to the main channel, ESPN, for live coverage of the game. So that's ESPN for Arsenal-Sunderland on Saturday. And on Monday, by the way, it'll be Everton-Manchester United as well to follow.
Vacation's over for you, huh?
It certainly is. I'll be talking through the jet lag from the Emirates.
I'll be thinking of you when I'm on the golf course on Friday, but
it's all right for some, isn't it? Torres Nilo. Guardado measured that, well, nearly perfect, just out of play, did go out. We're down on the touchline with the US camp. Monica Gonzalez has some news for us.
And you've seen the US back line is holding pretty high, but Jurgen Klinsmann just told Jeff Cameron to make sure he does not follow his man into the midfield. He doesn't want him stepping into the midfield to defend. He wants him to make sure and hold the line with the rest of the back four. Back to you, Ian.
Thanks, Monica. That's an interesting little tidbit there. He's had a 2-month-long move from Houston to Stoke City, and he's had Tim Howard chauffeuring him around England, looking for properties and helping him to settle generally. Might be making his debut, not this week because he's got visa problems, but next week against Arsenal. Not bad. And that's got him behind Torres Nilo for Danny Williams here. Gomez is waiting in the middle, it's too long for him. Just a sniff of something there for the USA. It's Fabian Johnson, who's been real fine of the Klinsmann era, but this is a strange role he's in tonight. Usually left back, left midfield. Guardado, much involved. Pereira looking for a volley. Well, that's either goal of the season stuff or it ends up, well, like it did end up.
Well, it's been everything for Mexico's gone down this left-hand side where Guardado is finding those seams, really giving Johnson fits. But when you look at this team defending all the time, this is where Torres is a tough option. He's not a defend-first kind of guy. He needs possession a lot, if not all the time. And right now he's having a tough time finding the game.
He's just playing behind Gomez, Torres. I need to get him on the ball to start probing and finding some clever passes for Donovan and Gomez. That isn't happening really at the moment. Viniegra, the debutant, wide here for Andres Guardado again. He's come back again, and Guardado, this with his weaker right foot. Powered it all right though, but off target. Nearly up to that 20 minutes, Taylor.
No, and it's weathering the storm. Jurgen Klinsmann talked about it this morning. You know, you see communication in the back, a misunderstanding between Adu and Beckerman. But again, it's 0-0, weathering the storm. Now can they have a little bit more possession? You know, it's almost as if U.S. has gone into a 4-5-1 with Donovan and Torres underneath Gomez. just looking for seams, but defending continuously.
So far, weathering the storm. Now Donovan, Gomez waiting in the middle here, and he was stopped from making his run, but you're never going to get those.
No, but that's better. And what does it come from? Landon Donovan finding that seam in front of the back four of Mexico. Good spot right there. Now a dangerous ball in, but there can't just be Gomez making a run in the box. Can Danny Williams come in late?
That was the best yet from the United States.
And it's right on cue. Remember Jurgen this morning said right around the 20-22 minutes in, he wants the U.S. to go play, attack, get after it.
And he's trying to instill this positive mindset in his players, a can-do mentality, if you like. And the bigger picture is, when it comes to World Cups, not to be content just to reach the last 16, to really make a bold bid beyond that kind of stage. Castillo plays it inside. Here's Jermaine Jones. Now Danny Williams, one of two Hoffenheim players, along with the man on the right side with him, Fabian Johnson. Those two are doing very well in the Bundesliga, by the way. It's proved to be quite a rich vein that the United States can probe away with. His Hercules Gomez, good little turn. They know him well, of course, in Mexico with his prolific scoring for the champion Santos Laguna. Well, let's go down to the Mexican bench now, and nearby is our reporter John Sutcliffe.
Ian, one of the surprises today in the starting lineup for Mexico is Angel Reina. He's always been known like a maverick. He likes to play a lot more with the ball and doesn't do much when he doesn't have it. Well, he just got yelled by Chepo de la Torre to come back, to do work. He also has to help defense in the middle of the field.
And some interesting little insight there about Reina, who's quite a character. Here's Hernandez. It's very good work, well watched indeed by Cameron there.
Yeah, but it's then the second decision. Having the wherewithal to have a 5-yard pass, find Kyle Beckerman, allows the U.S. to get out. Well done from Cameron.
Pity there that Jones' ball was just a bit too heavy for Donovan, otherwise something might have been on. United States just entering that phase of the game where they're looking to pose an attacking threat themselves a little more. It was certainly the game plan, wasn't it?
Well, it definitely was. You heard Jurgen this morning just talk about weathering the storm. He kept saying it, repeating it, that 15, 20 minutes in. But then after that, let's play. Let's get after it. It still was a friendly. We came down here to win.
It's Torres Nido down the left-hand side. Good tracking back by Danny Williams. Versatile character. There was some talk he might play right back tonight. He seemed to have that role, didn't he, in the training. That's an awful piece of work by Beckerman, in truth, giving away the corner. Unnecessarily so. Gives Mexico a chance to do something. Here's the short one from Guardado. Played in by Reina, a player that John Sutcliffe was just telling you about. And he is quite a character. He fell out with America after claiming the captain was made of water and the defense was plastic. Unsurprisingly, he moved on to Monterrey. That's another one that's going to be given. Castillo's challenge. No, Donovan back there, rather, on that side.
We haven't seen a lot down this left-hand side from Castillo's done a good job of keeping Barrera in front of him. Donovan with a late challenge.
As the sun sets behind the huge stands here
Thank
at the
goodness.
Azteca Stadium, and the temperature goes down about 15 degrees. Has been hot here, despite it being the rainy season in Mexico City. We've got a lot of men forward here. It's Gomez back defending. Viniegra. Great chance for him tonight. We were expecting Lugo to get the opportunity in midfield, but he has to wait on the bench. Pereira in towards Hernandez. Tim Howard getting his fist to it. Again, the ball just delivered a little too high for Hernandez, who is good, very good in the air, by the way. Play's going to be pulled back here. US with a man down. Looks like Maurice do, doesn't it? Yeah, it is.
Yeah, and you saw Tim Howard come off his line very strong. Listen, you're coming off your line, you're getting this ball, and that's a nasty challenge. When you look at the bench right now for the United States, Matt Beasler is the only center back on that roster.
Now, they say the goalkeeper has to clear everybody out when he goes for a ball like this. He hopes it's not his own players, but it was then. Poor old Maurice Edu. Because he's stuck in all the turbulence going on with the liquidation of Rangers, the new club. He's not kicked a ball for them this season. There's talk of him going to Valencia, maybe to Ipswich Town in the second tier of English football.
Well, and that's why he was playing center back. You saw the reports on the internet that Valencia were interested in where he can play on the field, if he can play multiple positions.
Don't forget ESPN2's coverage of the MLS Game of the Week continues on Sunday, August the 26th, with the top two teams in the Eastern Conference. Kansas City hosting the New York Red Bulls. The Game of the Week presented by Adidas. Sunday, August the 26th, 9 Eastern on ESPN2, 3 and live on Watch ESPN.
Right now, Jermaine Jones has slid back to center back, while Edu figures out whether or not he can come back into this game.
Hard shift so far for the US, but did anybody think it would be anything different? Here's Hernandez again. Pereira want to make a statement, won't he, Chicharito Hernandez here, because, well, mostly to Sir Alex Ferguson. He'll want to hear news of his striker being among the goals. He had a really frustrating time last year for one reason or another at United.
Remember, this time last year when they played in Philadelphia, he wasn't there due to concussions.
Here's Zavala. Very few opportunities for the US to get forward. They're not keeping the ball well enough. Jones not missed out there. This time it's a long-range effort, and it's a long way wide by Torres Nilo.
It's too much in that position from Jermaine Jones. He needs to recognize that he needs to hold that ball and allow his back four to push forward. Tough spot to give up that ball.
I think this is where the US miss Michael Bradley in midfield, don't they?
Well, there's no doubt about that. I mean, you've seen already in preseason what Michael Bradley's doing for Roma. It's extremely valuable.
The stadium, which has 105,000, not completely full, but I think 67,000 of the tickets have been sold by 4:30 this afternoon, so it's pretty full here, and it takes a lot to fill it. And as ever, the United States, well, they've never really been on Mexico's Christmas card list. Sometimes been a coliseum of hate here, really, truth to tell.
Yeah, but that's why it's a great rivalry.
It's part of the experience, yeah. Donovan to play this one into around the back. Hercules Gomez in good goal scoring form, 2 in his last 4 games for the US and 2 in his last 4 in club football. The Mexican season's already underway.
He's really found a niche since he moved from MLS down to Mexico.
It seems to have taken over for the moment anyway, just ahead of Josie Altidore in the pecking order, doesn't he?
Yeah, but I mean, you saw those 2 goals Josie Altidore scored last weekend against Ajax.
Yeah.
That's the Josie Altidore that US soccer fans want to see. Big, strong, physical, taking players on and putting that ball back in the net.
Well, it's a good problem for Jurgen Klinsmann to have, isn't it? To have the choice. I'm sure Josie will fight hard to get his place back again. Not been always easy for Jurgen Klinsmann to get Altidore's release from AZ Alkmaar. Here's Pereira. Back again to Nisa. And now Moreno, one of the best and most consistent of the Mexican players, really good at the back. It'll be tough to break down with Moreno and Rodriguez back there. And Guardado trying to create things again. He's claiming a handball there. The referee saw nothing wrong, or thought it was inadvertent anyway. Vinegra played it wide. Pereira not quite able to control it. It's just a question at the moment, really, for the US of hanging in there, which they've done. Gomez really against the entire Mexican defense on his own.
But this is your job when you're up front by yourself. Great play from Herculez Gomez.
Looking for Rodriguez there.
But he knows he has no support whatsoever, but he's got to create something out of nothing to draw a foul, even a yellow card now on the center back. It's well done.
He was cynical. He couldn't complain about that. It's one of those players involved in that tainted meat doping controversy a few years back, wasn't he, Rodriguez, along with the Choa, the goalkeeper. Kept them out of the Gold Cup. Torres. I've seen a lot of him so far, but that's really because the US have been largely defending. Need him to be the spark point, the catalyst. Here's Reina. Good work, lovely piece of play, quick feet, found Pablo Barrera. Hernandez is waiting in the middle. The cross isn't good if Cameron, tall, cut it out. Really having to put in a man shift back there, Cameron. Zavala. Now Vinegra. There they're going. Just got the better of Castillo. Again, they couldn't find the right diagonal ball to get Hernandez in behind. One or two people who think that Mexico, after all their triumphs, particularly at youth level, now the Olympics, Gold Cup, could be a major factor at the Brazilian World Cup in a couple of years' time. Who's arguing, really? There might be. There again. Mesa is impressed. Now Zavala. Chipped in behind. Hernandez. Can he get to it? Bounced kindly for Tim Howard. Flag was up, I think.
But that is exactly what Monica Gonzalez reported about Jurgen Klinsmann. He does not want Jeff Cameron and Modou fouling into the midfield. Good spot there. Holding their ground. That now limits the space for Chicharito to get in behind.
Does Jurgen Klinsmann have to rethink this a little at halftime tactically, the way he goes about getting a foothold in this game? Or is it all okay so far? What do you think?
It's fine. It's 34 minutes in.
And it's goalless.
More importantly, Mexico really hasn't had that many quality chances.
Yeah,
weathered the storm.
Tim Howard hasn't had too much to do, really, has he? Not by way of making big saves. It's just a question whether they can start posing some problems forward. They might here. Williams was fed by Donovan. Fabian Johnson. It's really a defensive pick at right back. Of course, having him there, you might keep Guardado a bit quieter, but you miss his forays on the left, don't you, and his quality in his more natural position.
Well, that's what we saw against Italy, didn't we? In tight spots, Fabian Johnson getting forward, getting up down that left-hand side, created the goal with Josie Altidore for Clint Dempsey. You lose that, but again, now you're moving Guardado all over the field.
Good shout there for Tim Howard. I'm sure he got that first. It is a personal matter, isn't it, for both sets of players here to win this. I mean, it is a cliche. It's really true. There is no such thing as a friendly between these two.
Well, but you just said it, the success of the Mexican Federation. I can guarantee you the players tonight, there's pressure on you. Yeah. The 17s have won the World Cup. The 20s were successful. The Olympics won the gold medal. There's players knocking on the door consistently. These players are feeling it.
And the last two Gold Cups they've won, haven't they? Here comes the corner kick, which goes a long way. The referee saw something he didn't like. And USA can breathe again. Date for your diary, Wednesday, September the 19th, the gold medal winning US women's team will face Australia at Dick's Sporting Goods Park just outside Denver. The game on ESPN2, 10 o'clock Eastern. And my congratulations too to that splendid team for their gold medal. It was brilliant stuff, a great game. The final, I thought, against Japan. 80,000 people at Wembley Stadium to watch it too. Inside to Reina, lovely little cushioned layoff from him. He's looked classy there. Here he is again. Had to hold his run. Hernandez to avoid being offside. Guardado now tries to find Hernandez again. Good policing by the back two there. Adu and Cameron, the new partnership. They're doing okay, those two, really.
They're doing fine. It's the recognition to see that Chicharito's coming here, but both Adu and Cameron were there. Immediately right after, you see Tim Howard come out, pat them on the back. It's good recognition because communication here is difficult.
Speed of thought, maximum concentration needed back there because Hernandez is a real fox in the box. Movement's great usually. And he's had a summer off for once too to refresh those legs. Here comes the corner kick bouncing down dangerously. Nearly fell for Zavala.
That's the third or fourth set piece, though. We've seen Mexico find some space on that back post.
Mesa. Game almost entirely being played in the United States half of the pitch. That's the way it's been. Zavala tries the long-range effort. This time Maurice Adu was able to block it. Of course, there's the high altitude factor as well for the players too. Not easy, and maybe one of the reasons as well the Mexicans' home record is so very, very good. Barrera stopped that time by Edgar Castillo, who played in this stadium for a few months when he was with Club America, who are based here. Torres Nido again for the Mexicans. Guardado, I can't think why Valencia want to use him as a left back. That's the word apparently. Is Hernandez too long for him again? I'll tell you something from Mexico, the supply hasn't been good enough, has it?
No, and I think that's credit to the U.S. back four. You know, when they're picking their heads up, Adu, Cameron, Castillo on the back post, picking up runs. It's been difficult to pick up Chicharito making that run inside the 18. But you're looking at 39 minutes in it. What a different first half it has been for Edgar Castillo compared to last year. You know, last year in Philly, and you and I were talking about it today, he came out very slow. They ran rampant down that left-hand side. Tonight, he's been very solid.
And there's a player that Jurgen Klinsmann keeps coming back to give little opportunities, and maybe just feels a bit more settled and part of the squad as well now. I don't think he did then, seriously. Certainly wouldn't be first choice at left back, Castillo, but I guess if they were picking a 23 for a World Cup tomorrow, he'd be certainly in the frame, wouldn't he? Somewhere here.
And I'm sure Jurgen Klinsmann sees that growth.
Yeah. Got to qualify for the World Cup first. And the final hexagonal tournament, which starts in February, will be fascinating. We're assuming USA qualify from their current little group. And Jamaica both with 4 points, and the doubleheader between the two of them coming up next. Kyle Beckerman with a reverse ball. And Fabian Johnson. By and large, United States defending in recent matches has been pretty good, bar the 4-1 defeat against Brazil when I think a few people had a night off, really.
Well, and if you remember that game, Torres was non-existent as well because you're defending the majority of the game. And 41 minutes into this game, we haven't seen Torres whatsoever get on that ball, release pressure, allow Donovan and Gomez to get in the attack. You have to think at halftime Jurgen Klinsmann's going to reassess whether or not Torres is valuable in this situation.
Just looking a little heavy-legged out there at the moment. Torres as well. You need him to be a bit more involved in things. Maybe that will happen later. It isn't at the moment. Jurgen Klinsmann might be reasonably happy tonight. Don't forget, it's the debut of ESPN FC Press Pass on ESPN News. That's a new development for you. A round table, so usually great debate on the soccer stories all around the globe. You can catch the show every Sunday to Friday night at 2 a.m. Eastern, 11 o'clock in the evening Pacific for the Night Owls. But it's worth staying up for. We're going to be talking about this game tonight in tonight's edition, and the move of Robin van Persie, the big story from England today, for about $38 million is gone. Last season's top scorer in the English Premier League, 30 goals. Van Persie to Manchester United. Will that tilt the title race United's way? Guardado again. For all the possession and pressure of Mexico, they've not really tested Tim Howard, who's been well covered up by this experimental defence. Will the US ambition grow after the break?
No doubt. You come out in the first half in Azteca, for a lot of these guys, their first experience. Listen, 0-0, very few chances for Mexico. This is a win so far.
Hernandez. And the free kick is given. He was kind of looking for it, I thought.
And right there's the perfect example. Mexico does not want Chicharito dropping this far into the midfield looking for the ball. I'm not so sure that was a foul either.
Donovan says he just ran into me and made sure he did. I think he might have been right, you know, as well. Well, they're knocking on the door, Mexico, but it's stayed firmly shut so far. It's taken the eye. And in midfield, Reina, who's taking the free kick now. Zavala couldn't reach it, despite his 6'3" frame. And at half-time, apart from the debate, there's the big celebrations going to be going on, a few fireworks, because Mexico's gold medal Olympic winning side present. And the big hero of the hour, of course, is Oribe Peralta, who scored 2 in that final. Incidentally, he did get the goal in the 1-1 draw between these two countries a few months back as well. He'd be pressing for a starting place in this team, as would Marco Fabian as well, the excellent striker with a great goal-scoring record. They've got a few choices as well.
Not a bad problem to have.
Yeah. You've got Carlos Vela, who's out of favour at the moment after refusing to go to the Olympics. Guardado here. Good ball with his supposedly weaker foot. Here's Pereira. Mesa. Pereira again. With the left foot towards Hernandez again. Cameron with the vital interception. He's had an outstanding half. Torres Nilo. Again, Tim Howard can watch it sail by. Again, Barrera. This time Danny Williams is back helping out his mate Fabian Johnson. Guardado again, he's looking for the 1-2 here. And Tim Howard, corner kick. They had to be very careful there, both the defenders and Howard, not to commit an offence that would have led to a penalty.
Great recognition from Tim Howard. Coming off his line, playing as almost as he's a sweeper. Good spot. This is part of game management that Jurgen Klinsmann wants to see from inexperienced players. Going into half, going 0-0.
Again, no Mexican head on the end of it. And it looks like the United States are going to go into half-time having kept a clean sheet. It's got to be a minute of stoppage time. And the key thing really for the United States here is, though they've posed almost no threat going forward, they're still in this match. And there are always going to be times as well, aren't there, in world football, when that's the name of the game, really, to keep it tight and make sure you're organised. This time Guardado with a rare error. Kyle Beckerman here of Real Salt Lake to Jermaine Jones. Nice little reverse ball from him. Torres this time does get on the ball. Donovan. The crowd know Donovan has punished Mexico once or twice in the past. Little boos every time he's in possession. Come to think of it, boos every time any United States player is in possession. And that is half-time. The United States get through the half on the back foot, but Mexico not really creating that much. What is Jurgen Klinsmann going to cook up, I wonder, for the second half? In a way, so far so good, though he'll want a little more perhaps creatively. Jeff Cameron there was absolutely outstanding. Lots to talk about then at the break. Let's go back to Bob.
Thanks, Ian. Mexico, just about all of the possession. Tim Howard off his line when he needed to be. Jurgen Klinsmann with that, well, makeshift experimental defense with the central pairing of Cameron and Adu holding their ground. Organized composure on the back line. No goals. United States in their 25th match on Mexican soil, looking for their first win. They have one draw in the prior 24. That came back in 1997. Here in 2012, what will happen? We're at halftime. Jurgen Klinsmann, 45 minutes, saying, well, I came down here with 3 players who had never played for the U.S. at Estadio Azteca. Bit of an experimental defense, and they played with composure. They didn't see a lot of the ball in the U.S. 11, but it's scoreless at half, and that's an accomplishment for the United States plays here at Estadio Azteca with Casey Keller and Alexi Lawless. I'm Bob Lee. All right, keeper, central defender. You had to like what you saw for the USA.
I did, and we talked a lot about weathering the storm. Now, the weathering the storm is not something new, some newfangled way of playing. The U.S. has been doing that for years, and I think they came back and they did what they know. Weather the storm, deal with the crosses, and defensively I thought they were solid, especially on the back. I thought Castillo had a good half. I thought Jeff Cameron had a good half, and as a whole that back four did the job. Was it proactive? Was it different than anything we've seen? Not necessarily, but 0-0 at Azteca against Mexico, that's a good half.
If you could have asked Tim Howard before the match, you go into the first half and you don't have a save to make, you got to come out for a cross and clean a couple things up, I think you'd be really happy with that. But on the other side up front, I think they need to do a little bit better job of holding the ball up. A couple times you saw Jermaine Jones give the ball away too easily. You saw Torres not be able to quite put any influence. But when they were able to gain possession and take it to Mexico, there was a couple occasions where the U.S. were very dangerous.
5 minutes in, best opportunity for the United States. Herculez Gomez, the appeal for the United States for the penalty not given, but dangerous here.
Yeah, they get behind once or twice. You never know when you're going to get that call, but I tell you what, in Azteca against Mexico, you're probably not. Herc does a good job of getting to the ball, gets pulled right at the end there. But then defensively, we talked about Jeff Cameron, one-on-one with Chicharito, stands him up, and more importantly, plays out of pressure and maintains possession.
Danny Williams covering back as well, making some good decisions, keeping the ball, shielding it, excellent job, and then being able to keep possession. But this is where the team did excellent all game. They did a great job of defending crosses, and Tim Howard admiring his defense on that occasion.
Momentarily here at Estadio Azteca, in front of a crowd that may be approaching 70,000. Not a capacity, not a sellout this evening. The introduction, and here they are, the Mexican gold medal Olympic football team. Very successful Olympics for the nation of Mexico. 7 medals won in London, and all the attention, certainly, we don't control all of these pictures, you'll understand, all of the attention, most of the attention on the soccer team, who outplayed, who won at Brazil, and showed heart and determination last Saturday at Wembley. But also for Mexico, medals in diving, in archery, in taekwondo. And to put it in perspective for the Mexican national effort, what the Federation has done and what they've achieved in Mexico with their youth success, that gold for the soccer team was the first for Mexico in a traditional team sport in the Olympics since 1936. And the way they went at Brazil, no fear, went right at Brazil in the gold medal match.
Talk about confidence. As you said, you're coming up against Brazil, but there was a confidence that they attained throughout the tournament. And that was not some fluke result that Mexico got against Brazil. They came out, they finished their chances, they defended well, which is something they did all tournament.
All the Mexican medalists in all the sports being introduced. And it's a party in Mexico City in the thin air of the national capital in a moment of celebration of their greatest moment in their national football history. The Olympic champions being recognized, the national team. Scoreless with the USA. A busy halftime at Azteca. We'll be back. And qualification already underway for the United States as we're at halftime of the friendly tonight. But against Antigua and Barbuda on a rainy night in Tampa. Carlos Bocanegra in the 8th minute. This penalty from Clint Dempsey to put the U.S. 2-0 and on their way to a 3-1 win. Down to Guatemala. Clint Dempsey just before the half of the 40th minute, slotting it home very neatly. And then a free kick late in the 83rd minute by Marco Papa for the Guatemalans. And so the U.S. could have come away with 3 points there. Settled for the draw as the haze of the pyrotechnics settle over Azteca and the victory lap of honor taken by the Mexican Olympic athletes. But in the qualification group, and remember, the top 2 in each group advance. The United States leads this group on goal differential over Jamaica. And upcoming in September, the home and home, September 7th down in Jamaica, back here in the U.S. on September 11th, complete live coverage on ESPN2. Mexico leading their qualification group as well. They've taken maximum points so far, with Costa Rica currently sitting in 2nd place. So qualification is underway. Let's put tonight off the table for a moment, because this is not a side the U.S. would necessarily put out for qualification. Of what you've seen in Guatemala and Antigua and Barbuda, which was a match on a night when Antigua played the match of their lives and played even for a while, what have you seen that's impressed you from the U.S.?
I think the U.S. should win the group, no problem. It shouldn't even be a question. Win the group and get to the hexagonal and go to the World Cup. It should never be a question about qualifying. Is it easy? No. Obviously, you're going to talk about Mexico, but Honduras, Panama, Costa Rica, these types of teams are very, very good. But having said all of that, the U.S. should always qualify for the World Cup, and I see no reason why they don't get through this group, win this group, and then get to the hexagonal and go right to Brazil.
But they could have had 3 points in Guatemala. With 7 minutes to go, they concede the free kick.
I'm not too worried about that kind of stuff. You win your home games, you draw on the road, you qualify very easily. What's nice is when you can sneak those odd-away wins, it just takes a little pressure off some of those home games in case, let's say, you have a game against a very good team. Maybe Jamaica comes in, parks the bus in front of the goal, you hit the post 5 times, you end up with a 0-0. So when you can sneak those away wins, it just makes it that much easier.
Which brings us to this evening in Mexico City in a friendly. But if there's one word that we've heard more than gracias since we've been in town, it has been gap. What's the Spanish word? What's that? The Spanish word for gap again is?
La brecha.
La brecha. Okay, we've heard the gap between these nations. Is there a gap? If so, how large?
There's not a gap. I mean, there's situations where Mexico's on a little bit of a rise at the moment. They've won the Gold Cups. They've got a great victory in the Olympics. But that kind of stuff changes on a minute. Just go win the next big game for the United States, and nobody remembers anything about a gap.
But there's a recent history to take a look at, a recent history of what Mexico have been able to do just this past 4 days ago with the Olympic gold. And of course, the Gold Cup, when the U.S. squandered a 2-goal lead, and you see the U.S. performance in the same tournaments.
Based on this, there would be a gap. But if there's a gap, it's existed all along. And I say you bridge the gap. And this is all fine and well, but ultimately this is about winning a World Cup. And I don't think that Mexico is doing things right now. Do they have a golden generation? Without a doubt. But that's not necessarily about development. That's about some kids that were born at the right time and are very, very good soccer players. I don't think that Mexico's doing things that the U.S. necessarily hasn't tried or should be doing. There's not a magic bullet. So is there a gap when you look at what Mexico's done the last couple of years, on under 17s, under 20s, under 23s, and in terms of winning the Gold Cup? You could argue that, but I still say when it comes right down to it, the U.S. will beat Mexico on home soil, and they'll lose away.
And, of course, there's the 2002 Olympic game, other side of the world, which still stings because the USA won that over Mexico 2-0. Gap. Ian and Taylor, what do you make of all this talk? Right now, there's no gap. We're scoreless at the half, but certainly after Saturday at Wembley, Ian, there was a large gap perceived around the world.
I think the players, the US players, are sick of hearing about the so-called gap. There's no doubt about it. The balance of power at the moment is with Mexico, but these things run in cycles. Go back to the last World Cup. Both countries were knocked out at the round of 16 stage. I think the USA have got a nucleus of some good players, haven't they? Dempsey, Donovan, Bradley, Tim Howard in goal. I think they can go well in Brazil. Let's see what happens there. What do you think, Taylor?
Well, I respectfully disagree because I'm a fat guy, and what's on the paper? Right now, Mexico won the 17 World Cup. They finished third in the 20s, and they won the gold medal. And respectfully, I understand while it doesn't necessarily translate to the senior level, the fact is, developmental-wise, they're ahead of us. There is a gap between Mexico and the United States because, Ian, what is always the question? Who are the next players? Right now, Mexico can say, our players are ready. And I'm going to take my chances with a team that's won the gold medal in the Olympics, won an under-17 World Cup. That's fact.
I think one thing that really was a shame was that the United States did not get to the Olympics, because I think they might have gone quite well in that competition. Back to you, Bob.
Yeah, that non-qualification, Jurgen Klinsmann in so many words called it a debacle, a disaster, and wreaking some, he believes, psychological damage on the players who were part of the under-23 side who did not qualify for the Olympics. United States, well organized defensively, very few scoring opportunities, much more to come. 6 subs aside. We'll see what changes are made at the half here in Mexico City. All the friendly, but when these nations get together, especially here at Azteca in Mexico City, the emotions and the passions run high. No goals. Mexico the better of possession, but great composure, especially in the central defense for the United States. 6 subs aside in this friendly are allowed. What changes, if any, would you expect maybe we might see from Jurgen Klinsmann in the second half?
I think defensively he keeps things the same. I think up front he's got to maybe think about bringing on maybe a Terrence Boyd, maybe somebody big who can kind of hold the ball up, relieve that pressure a little bit.
And what I'd like to see is there were moments in the first half where this U.S. team high pressure. There was a throw in deep in the Mexicans' end. They high pressure to try to win the ball, to try to make Mexico play long balls out of the back. There was even a time where they played out of the back themselves, playing to Kyle Beckerman, who had the composure and the confidence to turn. He got fouled, but Tim Howard had the confidence to play into a man with pressure out of the back in Azteca. Those are the little things that I'm looking for, because those are little subtle changes. The result is the result, but those moments in the game, that's what I'm looking for. We need to see more of them in the second half.
An accumulation of nuance, perhaps, that we've seen from the United States, more on defense than offense so far. But Ian and Taylor, it's been a learning experience, and so far better than passing grades, but nothing in the net.
Nothing in the net so far. I wonder whether that might change in the second half. The United States and Mexico preparing to make 1 or 2 substitutions. I think we're going to see DeMarcus Beasley will be coming on for his 97th cap. They're doing their very best to get him up to 100. And Terrence Boyd, who's in great form for his new club Rapid Vienna with 3 goals in 6 games, the 21-year-old. It's only his 5th cap, and he might be a really big, promising player for the US. Yet another option going forward.
Yeah, and this is what they were lacking in the first half, Ian, is that big target for to hold the ball, draw fouls, and allow that midfield and defense get forward.
Beasley coming out to the left-hand side. The Mexicans were preparing to bring on Lugo for his 4th cap. The Santos Laguna player, Gerardo Lugo. And Elias Hernandez has come on as well, a striker to replace Pereira, who caused a few problems on the right wing in that first half. It's Landon Donovan who's come off at the break. That's not a total surprise, bearing in mind he did need a bit of treatment before training could be completed last night. He didn't complete the session, in fact. So no 50th goal so far. Now, what's the meaning of the Mexican substitutions? John Sutcliffe, our man in the camp, can tell us.
Well, during the first half, Chepo de la Torre wasn't happy at all with Pablo Barrera. He even came and explained several things to Elias Hernandez. So he's going to put him at right midfielder. And then Viniegra has to come. And Gerardo Lugo, the one we expected, will be on the left side as one of the holding midfielders. Chepo rarely does changes to start the second half. He usually waits 10-15 minutes. I think there's a little desperation here.
Chepo being Jose Manuel de la Torre, the successful Mexican coach who took over after the World Cup when Mexico were eliminated by Argentina, you might remember, including one outrageously offside goal by Carlos Tevez. But the Mexicans were eliminated. They make a habit of being eliminated at the hands of Argentina. Jose Torres has been subbed again. He was the first to be substituted against Brazil as well.
Yeah, and we saw the same type of first half from him. When you have to defend first, I'm not sure Torres is the guy you want in the midfield, defending first, not getting on the ball as often as he liked. It's a good sub. I like this. Up front, Boyd, Gomez, two guys now that Gomez now can run off, not be the target and find those spaces in behind.
Here is Elias Hernandez, the substitute has taken over from Barrera, and his first contribution is to put the ball behind. Is Torres running out of chances a little, do you think, to be the creative spark we were talking about?
I think so. I mean, you saw it in Jurgen's face this morning, talking about it. He wants more consistency from Torres. Not consistent enough. He said it, 1 out of 5 games isn't good enough for him. But I think the first half, particularly the last 25 minutes of that first half, the U.S. got Mexico to get out of their game, getting down the flanks, crossing balls. That's right into the wheelhouse of the U.S. back four.
Where the US were successful in the first half was cutting the supply line to Hernandez. Good job by Cameron and Adu. Jermaine Jones, who does have a short fuse occasionally, questioning that, and I don't think he's got too much reason. He was the first defender there, wasn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt.
He was sinned against later, which is probably why he was complaining. And he goes out of play before Lugo, who always plays with that headband, could latch onto it. So why has Landon Donovan come off? We can get some confirmation with our reporter Monica Gonzalez.
Well, Ian, Landon came off because of a tightness in his hamstring. So Jurgen Klinsmann decided to put in Terrence Boyd, go with 2 full strikers. He told Terrence he wants him to go at people, take risks, and he said, get out there and score your first goal. Ian, back to you.
Well, let's see if he can do that. Young Terrence Boyd, he's a self-deprecating character. I know you were talking to him, weren't you, Taylor, at some length?
Well, you just see it in his face. And yesterday he's talking, he's very pleased to come here. He called America the greatest country in the world and how he wants to represent it. But it was him talking about his appearance in the Italy game. He was as surprised as anyone. You know, he was almost embarrassed that he was playing in the 4th division in Germany. He was surprised Jurgen gave him a cap. But he's got this infectious attitude that you just draw into him. You want to play for him. You want to play right next to him, and go out on the field and score goals.
Meza plays it wide here to Elias Hernandez. Guardado, one of the few players probably on the pitch who might have pulled off that volley. As it was an air shot. Ball's played deep, and there's Lugo with an opportunity. Only about his 3rd touch since coming on as well. That would have been something, wouldn't it?
Well, and immediately when that ball's out of play, you see Adu Cameron look at Kyle Beckerman. This is the difficult part of playing at Azteca, communication. Kyle Beckerman loses Lugo on that back post. The difficult part is Cameron Adu may be communicating with him, but Beckerman needs to follow his runner.
Lugo, whose father was a professional at the 1978 World Cup held in Argentina. Amid all that ticker tape, if you've seen the old tapes. Now then, here's Boyd with his first opportunity to impress. He certainly had a bit of physicality to the attack, that's for certain. Still raw, but he might give Moreno and Rodriguez a little more to think about. Hernandez again. Mexico suddenly dreaming big dreams. With all the success that they've been having that we were outlining during the break, can Can they convert it to something tangible for the senior team at the World Cup in 2 years' time? Be fascinating to find out. Lugo looking to chip one in behind, but I don't think anybody had any chance of latching onto that bar. A greyhound. Playing in the 4th division he was, Terence Boyd in Germany last season for Borussia Dortmund reserves. Now he's with Rapid Vienna. He scored against Roma with a great bicycle kick in a Europa League qualifier.
And yesterday, talking to him, he was just extremely proud that he can now say he's a professional. He felt almost embarrassed getting called in last year, playing in the 4th division in Germany. Now he wants to take his career off to new heights.
Here's Hernandez. Thought about the cross. It was a shot in the end. Hooked back. And I think that's, yeah, has that crossed up the line? Yeah, it has. Tim Howard, as always, with lots to say. The commander, the man winning his 79th cap with the inexperienced defence in front of him. Can they hear him amid the din in here?
And you saw that a lot yesterday in training with the altitude. Timmy Howard didn't want to catch many balls in training and just wants to parry them out wide.
He's getting pretty close to Brad Friedel's 82 caps. Now Tim Howard, #1 goalkeeper for the US for the last 5 years now. Here's Hernandez, Elias that is. There's 2 of them out there, of course, with Chicharito as well. Marino had to race to keep it in. He couldn't in the end. So the quick throw is taken for Herculez Gomez, who didn't really see that he had somebody arriving in the middle there, namely Boyd.
Somebody arriving. This is well done from Williams to take a quick throw and pick your head up. Terence Boyd is wide open in front of that goal.
Yeah, he tried the impossible, didn't he, Wim? Even a speculative ball into that area.
Anything.
Have, as you said, head up.
Head up, put it in front. Terence Boyd was in.
So that was a little wasted window of opportunity, that, for the United States. They might not get many chances here tonight. Elias Hernandez again. He wants to try his luck at every opportunity. Remember, the United States, the only time they've failed to be beaten, if I can put it that way, on trips to Mexico was 1997, a goalless draw in a World Cup qualifier, playing most of the game, down to 10 men. Now then, Hernandez again, and then Reyna. Will the high altitude just begin to tell a little on the American players in the second half, Taylor?
Well, you've already seen it, Ian, haven't you? The shape of the U.S. is a little bit more spread out than they want.
Zavala. Oh, and this time Hernandez was offside, but he crept into some space. Now they have to keep the concentration going back there.
Yeah, and immediately when this ball's out of bounds, Tim Howard's coming off his line, looking at Jermaine Jones and Kyle Beckerman, asking, pleading for some ball pressure.
Now look at that, laser beams being shone into the eyes of Tim Howard, which is a bit naughty, to put it mildly. And something really the referee and the officials have to address. I'm sure Howard has made the point to the officials as yet. The United States always know that although they share a border with Mexico, they are a long, long way away from home here. Just about holding on. Imagine the deafening hush if the US scored. But here's something. In the last 17 visits to Mexico, the scoreline has been Mexico 45, USA 4, which is kind of horrendous. But tonight's another night. Elias Hernandez again got round the back. Oh, it was a tremendous header by Cameron. Otherwise, Chicharito scores. Brilliant by Cameron.
I mean, that is absolutely ridiculous. You're on full speed, marking your forward, going towards your own net to be able to get a little touch on that, not on your own goal. Phenomenal.
Showing why Tony Pulis, the Stoke City manager, wanted to bring him to England to play in the Premier League. Just one or two signs that the United States defence is just starting to rock and reel a little more. Mexico certainly looking more threatening since half-time. Little bit more space out there. It's getting harder. Misa helps it forward. Reina wide to Elias Hernandez, who's seeing a lot of the ball, taking on Castillo, a player who know well from the Mexican League. Elias Hernandez with the cross again, completely in space. Zavala, unmarked.
Oh, but now you're starting to feel the momentum. You're seeing the momentum change, Ian. This is phenomenal defending, unreal. It's just a little touch, but you are 4 yards from your own goal. That's big time from Jeff Cameron. But right now the momentum's changing, particularly down this left-hand side. Beasley needs to get a little bit closer to Edgar Castillo and provide some cover.
Reina couldn't quite latch onto the ball. See, that's been a difference, hasn't it? Reina, Angel Reina for Mexico, has got onto the ball a lot, and Torres could not do that, cast in the same kind of role for the US tonight. Mexico trying to play their way out of trouble. They haven't done that. They gave it to Castillo. And the Mexicans working very hard, pressing the ball to try and get it back. Well played, the US. But again, no ball retention where it mattered. And now there could be problems. Angel Reina, and Hernandez thought he couldn't go for that. I suspect he thought he was offside. He might not have been. Might more reinforcements and fresher legs be needed? The USA just starting to hang on, not by their fingertips, but it is getting harder, isn't it?
No, but this is the part of the game. Can you have some possession here? The fresh legs, Boyd, Beasley, can they come in, provide some energy, get on the ball and keep possession? Make Mexico defend a little bit.
That was Beasley involved in that move. He plays in Mexico with Puebla. Much traveled player. Played in 6 countries, DeMarcus Beasley. Thought his US days were over, but Jurgen Klinsmann has summoned him once again. Jermaine Jones, who has captained the side a couple of times in the January matches. Edgar Castillo. And Jones again, he was caught late. That should be a free kick. It is. Graham Zusi about to come on for the United States. And this substitution sponsored by Gatorade Recover. Now what can Zusi bring to the party, Taylor?
He's going to find those seams, particularly right in front of Fabian Johnson. Look for those seams and allow Gomez to get in behind. But at some point, Zusi needs to come in as a second half sub and get on the ball, demand the ball. You have fresh legs, you've got 30 minutes, have an impact.
Zusi, part of the successful Sporting Kansas City side. He did score the winner against Panama in only his 2nd cap, Zusi. Cut off his long hair, I notice these days. A 45-yard effort from his YouTube hit at the moment, I'm told.
He's got 10 assists in MLS.
Zusi, I think, is going to maybe have a crack. What's the range here? About 30 yards, or maybe it'll be Gomez. It is Gomez. It's not a bad effort, that. A rare piece of work for Ochoa on the night. He could have read a book so far, really. And then Beckerman. Oh! He's landed on the top of the net with Ochoa off his line. Now that might have been a freak goal, but it nearly was a goal for Kyle Beckerman.
And listen, this is a decent hit from Gomez off the set piece, but with numbers 4, that they were open for the counter. Great play from Kyle Beckerman to break that play up.
He only ever scored once for the United States. In 21 caps, that was nearly a second. Good, quick thinking.
Yeah, the chance is one thing, but it's breaking up that counterattack from Mexico. That's another.
Normal service resumed. As Misa looks to get this in behind Castillo to Elias Hernandez, who's strong enough to get on the ball. Corner. He's had a tough old job tonight. Edgar Castillo at left back, first with Barrera to cope with, and now the lively Elias Hernandez. Go for the short corner routine again, a la Barcelona. Mesa wide. Andres Guardado. Hernandez again. Reina. He's looking to do something bright and brainy. He's a controversial little character, maybe not the easiest to manage, but you can see there's a bit of talent there. And this is a perfect opportunity, really, to just give him a stage.
This is better shape from the U.S. Early on in the second half, they were too spread out. This is more of what we saw in the first half. Numbers behind the ball, on top of each other, making life very difficult for Mexico.
Reina's little reverse ball is going to be a free kick. Cameron's hefty challenge. Right on the edge as well. Hernandez again. That's Chicharito, of course, the victim. Couldn't complain about this one.
No, but look at the movement. You just never know where he is. He's behind you, he's in front of you, he's on the side of you. Just that little touch is just nothing Jeff Cameron can do.
Just past the hour mark. Perfect angle this for Guardado. Left footer. So far the wall has done well for the US with these free kicks. That was almost something really from the WWF, wasn't it? Not that Cameron could do much, I think. Guardado! Oh, wasn't far away. One or two hearts in mouths there, Taylor.
Well, and you're too close to the goal to get this over the wall. Timmy Howard had it covered. Again, it's a little thing, but the U.S. ball did its job.
It's Jeff Cameron again.
Now this is the part of the game when the momentum's changing to Mexican side. Can Terrence Boyd come in? Can he get involved in the game? Can it be a target? Draw fouls, hold the ball, and then another silly giveaway.
That's a careless one, wasn't it? Cameron's a-do, and it was out of reach. So possession squandered, and the US can't afford that. They need a period where they can get on the ball, and that for Jurgen Klinsmann will be a frustration. But remember, the Mexico starting lineup tonight contained 8 of the side who played the recent World Cup qualifier against El Salvador, so pretty strong. The US just had 6 of their last qualifying side in action. Elias Hernandez again to his namesake Chicharito. Oh, lovely reverse ball. Can Hernandez get there? He can't. Again, the covering was very good.
Look at the recovery from Fabian Johnson. Hernandez has come into this game and changed it for Mexico going forward. That's a great read from Fabian Johnson.
Really was.
Edu, Cameron are beat, coming in from backside. Well done.
Can the USA hold on? That's becoming more and more the question, unless, of course, they can find a sucker punch on the break to hit Mexico with. That possibility still exists.
Yeah, but you got to have the ball.
Elias Hernandez fell for him nicely. Couldn't put it on target. Needed to hit that across the goalkeeper, didn't he, Taylor?
But look at the difference, Ian. Hernandez from Mexico, second half subs come in. He's had an impact. Beasley, Boyd, they need to get involved into this game.
English Premier League returns Saturday. Arsenal against Sunderland. Coverage beginning on ESPN2 at 9:30 a.m. and then switching to our main channel ESPN at 9:50. Hope that's not too complicated for you. Available on ESPN3 and watch ESPN as well. That's Arsenal against Sunderland. Arsenal parading their new signings, but of course without Robin van Persie. If you haven't heard, his move to Manchester United was confirmed today. Well, will the US maybe get a payoff for their resilience and obduracy in this game? Mexico with some defending to do. Graham Zusi is going to take it. Good looking set piece, that one. In towards big Terence Boyd. Looks a good dead ball expert, Zusi.
Yeah, we've seen it at MLS all season long for Sporting KC. He really enjoys hitting that in-swinger that really causes problems for goalkeepers, whether or not to come off their line. But on that one, if Terence Boyd's going back post, Jermaine Jones needs to be in behind him. You don't want a set piece to go all the way through anyone with no touch.
Mesa hits it long for Elias Hernandez, who got him behind. There was too much pace on it. Tim Howard is there again. They'll be facing Rooney and Van Persie on Monday, I imagine. Goodison Park. Here's Zavala. Tall, elegant type in the midfield, isn't he? Jesus Zavala. Mexico, it should be said, keeping the ball rather better. Lugo this time, they're looking for the little dummy. Reina hoping that Chicharito Hernandez was breaking in behind him. He hadn't read it. Jermaine Jones is dispossessed a little easily, perhaps. Lugo stays down as well, Jones. Guardado with Torres Nilo to his outside. El Pacho, as he's known. And it's going to be a card here for Jermaine Jones. Not as feisty as some meetings between Mexico and the US.
No, but this play starts from Jermaine Jones losing that ball in the Mexico final third. Then he's a little bit lazy getting back into his position. Late on the challenge, causes a foul and yellow card. It's the little things, particularly when you're here in Azteca, but you have to be sound defensively and not lose easy balls.
They do on the header, and in the end, Francisco Rodriguez can do nothing much more with it. 71st cap for the big defender from Stuttgart, which of course was where Jurgen Klinsmann used to play, among other places. Beckerman looking to get DeMarcus Beasley involved. He hasn't really had the ball to run at the fullback at all, has he, so far? Beasley, and use his pace. Another man on the substitute bench tonight. Interesting character is Joe Corona, who might have ended up playing in Mexico's Olympic team because he played for their under-22s in the Pan Am Games, but has elected to go the US route. On the bench, waiting an opportunity. He made his debut against Scotland and then that 5-goal romp a few months ago. USA 20 minutes away from what will be the most positive result on Mexican soil. since 1997. And only the second draw ever by an American team in Mexico. And this is the 25th visit. Everything else, defeat. Flag has stayed down for Chicharito Hernandez, who wasn't super sharp there, in all honesty, was he?
No, the run was perfect because Maurice Edu thought he had him covered. He thought he had Chicharito in front of him. He just drifts in behind. Touch let him down.
Breakthrough won't come for them, Taylor, will it?
No, it looks like right now Mexico's extremely frustrated trying to go through the middle of the field. And if you're the U.S., you want them going down the flanks. They only have Chicharito trying to get on the end of things.
Might have been something there for the US down that right-hand side, but it broke down. It was Fabian Johnson trying to push forward from his right-back posting. A lot of players in slightly unfamiliar roles tonight, which is, I think, why the USA have struggled to exist as any kind of attacking force in this game.
On the other hand, that's been the impressive part of that back four. Fabian Johnson moving to right back. Edu Cameron looks sound defensively together.
So wants a goal, and he usually delivers one for Mexico. 25 in 38 caps he's got.
He didn't see himself though last year for United.
He didn't, no. He had that concussion, which you know about, of course, didn't he? It's probably not quite the same since that incident happened for one reason or another.
Well, how many times last year did you see Chicharito make that run inside the 6-yard box and try to side volley it?
Yeah.
Where normally he was doing a diving header, getting on the end of it. He just did not. He seemed a little gun shy in that 18-yard box.
Mexican fans are getting a bit frustrated now here, I think. They were expecting this might be a good win over the old enemy, and they're going to have to try something else now. Aldo de Nigris is coming on. 4 goals he got in the Gold Cup in 2011. And John Sutcliffe, our man with the Mexican camp, can explain more.
Yeah, last time De Nigris and Chicharito played together was here in the World Cup qualifying game against Guyana. It's something that Chepo de la Torre doesn't like to use. 2 strikers on top, but now he's going to risk it because he knows that Mexico needs the W to maintain that great stretch of wins here in Azteca Stadium against the U.S.
Thanks, John.
I think more importantly, though, Ian, De Nigris comes in because he's more of a target forward. He's going to get on the end of a lot of these crosses out wide.
Guardado, we need to watch him. Away by Jeff Cameron. The United States inching closer to what would be a historic result. Even a goalless draw. There's still quite a lot of football in this yet, and a lot of defending to do, and maybe a few more chances to survive. Elias Hernandez, nice ball into the channel. De Nigris couldn't find his strike partner. And now they've got 2 strikers to deal with.
Yeah, and that changes it for Edu and Cameron. They've been dealing with Reina dropping off into the midfield. It's been easy to push on, but now you have a center striker like De Nigris. There's going to be more one-on-one situations.
Beckerman was strong enough, experienced character, recalled by Jurgen Klinsmann to the American. Again, possession is lost in that midfield area. They really do need someone who can put their foot on the ball and control the tempo of the game. I think that's a big need. Of course, they do have a player of that ilk in Michael Bradley, but he is not part of the squad here, just carrying a bit of an injury at the moment, as well as the start of the European season coming up at Roma for him. Elias Hernandez got the better of DeMarcus Beasley again. Cameron's aerial strength vital, really pushing his claims tonight. Cameron. Hernandez again found room, and this time, oh, it had to be a goal, didn't it, for Chicharito? And he's put it wide. Well, he has those for breakfast when he's on form.
And this is the Chicharito we saw last year. Not as clinical in that final third. Perfect run. Edu Cameron left for dead. Great ball from Hernandez. That ball needs to be headed near post on the ground.
Well, that's a huge miss, really. And that's a big let-off for the US as well.
But that's the first time Chicharito has gotten free off a cross. Because of that, is now there's 2 strikers. So now Adu and Cameron have to pick up 2 forwards instead of 1.
Michael Orozco Fiscal is coming on now to replace Edgar Castillo, who's done his job pretty manfully tonight. Orozco Fiscal, another of the Mexican-Americans who've been picked quite regularly by Jürgen Klinsmann. He hasn't played for the USA, though, since last October against Honduras.
And Ian, he slides in at right back. Fabian Johnson now comes over and plays left back.
Which is not a bad move. I think that will help a little in trying to tame Elias Hernandez's runs down that side. His cross that should have set off Chicharito for a goal, but it didn't. And the USA, I just wonder whether some of the players are starting to think, hey, this might be our night, you know.
Well, they should. It's the 77th minute.
DeMarcus Beasley. I think a draw here would be gold dust. Anything more, well, it would be a bit of floodlight robbery, but that's the way things go. Sometimes you're victims of those things as well. Breck Shea, I think we're going to see recently on the headlines a little bit of a bust up at Dallas. He's just bought himself a house in the area as well, so we hear. And he's going to replace Hercules Gomez. Shea it was who came off the bench and set up the equalizer in the Mexico-USA game in Philadelphia, Klinsmann's first game in charge. And it was Robbie Rogers who got that.
A little surprising he's been called in. You know, his club form in Dallas hasn't been the best. While players like Chris Pontius at DC United probably deserve the call-up, but here's an opportunity. Coach calls your number. You can come into this game and have an impact.
No goal tonight for Hercules Gomez, but very few chances. On comes Breck Shea, usually plays wide on the left, of course. And that involved DeMarcus Beasley moving out of that role to play just behind Boyd. Looks like that, doesn't it?
Yeah, it looks like Beasley's dropped right into the middle where Torres was in the first half. And just allow Boyd to run up front, use those legs, use that body, and be a target.
12 minutes away, USA here. And of course, worth remembering that history teaches us these two will meet again. That was careless by Lugo in a World Cup qualifier.
How often have we seen that tonight? Just careless giveaways from both teams.
Maybe just not that edge about some of the players. This DeMarcus Beasley's done well enough there. Ooh. It was cut back towards Breck Shea. Now he's got a chance to run. Here's Shea. Just lost control at the vital moment. Plays it in towards Boyd. And the USA do have the lead. And it's Orozco Fiscal. Can you believe that? Who's poked it over the line with 11 minutes to go. What about that?
And Ian, history repeats itself. Last year in Philly, Breck Shea came into the game and changed it. Took on players, got to the end line. The exact same thing tonight.
After all the possession of Mexico, it's a tale as old as time. USA hung in there, and here they get the reward. Well done, Breck Shea.
Yeah, but even better from Terrence Boyd. Not giving up on the play. Orozco Fiscal finishing at back post. But Breck Shea came right into this game and took someone on.
Lost
right away,
control.
made a difference.
Little touch by Boyd on, and the defender who's only been on the pitch for a couple of minutes, winning only his 5th cap out of the team since last October. Well, that's the stuff dreams are made of. He plays, of course, in Mexico for San Luis. He scored against Mexico.
And your job as an opposite side attacker is to get to that back post. Orozco Fiscal finishes that play, makes that 3rd or 4th run that you don't often notice, finishes the play off. Now can they defend?
Well, it's incredible. Here's Lugo. One or two things being thrown from above us, and some of the crowd getting a little lively with Mexico behind. They do not like losing here, especially to the USA. Well, they've never lost to the USA here. Is there a bit of history? Cameron miscontrolled that one. The crowd beseeching Mexico to find an equalizer. Mesa's back heel to Elias Hernandez. That miss by Chicharito, now looking really expensive. Might be one or two challenges flying in here now as well. Zusi's got a yellow.
Listen, it's a friendly, but you're on the road in Mexico. This is phenomenal experience for these young players. Graham Zusi's one of them. The last 9-10 minutes of this game, can you keep your head? This is a ridiculous yellow card. It's a 50-50 ball, but keep your head, defend. This is something Jurgen Klinsmann's looking at. Game management, can you get out of here with the result, particularly 3 points?
Well, Torres Nilo went on with his stud showing as well there, so that was 6 of one, half a dozen of the others.
But that's what happens when you're on the road in CONCACAF, things go against you.
Played into the danger zone. Again, well defended. Jermaine Jones, I think it was that time. This time, Zusi quite happy to put that out of harm's way. Playing the role of party poopers here, really. The United States, Mexico celebrating their Olympic gold tonight at halftime.
And all the talk pre-game, halftime about the gap. The gap between these two federations, you heard Casey Keller say it can change in a split second. Right now, what an opportunity here.
And hardly had an attack. Guardado, Torres Nilo now becoming almost an old-fashioned left winger. I don't think the crowd can quite believe what they're witnessing. Here's Brett Shea, who's made a little statement here after what's been a traumatic time for him in recent weeks. And he's come on and he took on the fullback and he made something happen. And listen to the Mexican fans upset with their team over that. Here's the goal again.
Yeah, you just love seeing a player come into the game and change it. Brett Shea taking the player on. I love that play from Terrence Boyd. It's a little thing. Most forwards try to turn, hit this, just anything, a little touch, get it on frame, and Orozco Fiscal to knock it in.
Yeah, it was clever by Boyd. He couldn't have really known Orozco Fiscal was there, but he just had a hunch that there'd be somebody there who could take advantage, and he was right. Well done, Orozco Fiscal, for getting there in the opposition 6-yard box.
Too often players want to take the shortcut, but when you're that opposite side attacker, that's well done. But right now, they need possession, hold the ball.
This Guardado's been excellent again, but just not able to create anything that clear-cut other than that big chance for Chicharito. Will there be another one? There might be here. Chicharito, it deflects, and Howard recovered superbly, changed his balance. Super save that by Howard. It looked as if the deflection might beat him, but it wouldn't. It didn't. Well, is this, after all the years, 75 years they've been coming to Mexico, the USA, no wins. DeMarcus Beasley.
But look at the athleticism. That deflection, Tim Howard's going the wrong way. Great reaction.
Oh, that was brilliant because his balance was wrong, wasn't it?
He was going the wrong way.
He had to change.
I mean, look, he's already at the other post.
I'll be interested to hear what Casey Keller, who's with us tonight, has to say about that. A bit later, one goalkeeper appreciating another, I'm sure. It might be worth a lot to the USA. It might be. Let's see. 85 minutes, 5 left. Jones lost possession. And then Mexico give it away again. Lugo. He's only winning his 4th cap, pretty inexperienced at this kind of level. Jones using his experience, just holding the ball up a little, finds DeMarcus Beasley. Boyd's waiting in the middle, you know, here. Beasley elected not to find him with a cross, just using his experience, I think, to eat away a few seconds over there. Wants a free kick, and he's not going to get one.
Yeah, but I don't mind that whatsoever from DeMarcus Beasley. You're in the 86th minute, no support.
Yeah, he wasn't going to give the ball to Mexico. With a cross, they'd have probably just headed away. Well, well, well. Not many people were predicting this at the start of the night. It's worth reminding ourselves that the real business will come in the final World Cup qualifying group. You'd think, anyway, between these two. They both got to reach that final group yet, but it would be amazing if both of them didn't make the final 6 in CONCACAF.
It really does, though, make you question Mexico having this friendly here.
Well, they've given the USA what's turned out to be a good experience. Sampled the atmosphere, the younger players, acquitted themselves well defensively, stolen a goal late on to maybe win it. I say maybe.
Well, an opportunity to get that monkey off your back as well. It's such a good save.
Looks better every time you see it, that, doesn't it? It's gone, isn't he? It's gone, but no, it hasn't. And that's why Howard's number 1. Mexico thinking of more changes, but USA grown in confidence with that goal. Zavala got caught in possession. Here's Brack Shea. Plays a good-looking ball in towards Boyd there. That was a smashing ball by Shea. It really was. That's the younger generation combining there.
And that's the one part of the game that everyone wants from Brack Shea is in that final third. Can he have a little bit more? That is a great ball back post to Boyd. As a substitute, Ian, you need to come in. Coach wants you to change the game. That man right there has changed this game completely for the U.S.
Mexico making another substitution here. It's quite hard to keep in touch with all of them, but we're doing our best. Jermaine Jones has run many, many miles in that midfield tonight. He comes off. And on comes Joe Carona here, the player we were talking about, on the Mexican-based player, plays for Club Tijuana. Scored 4 goals in the Olympic qualifying campaign, including a hat-trick against Cuba, because all to no avail, as it all went horribly wrong against El Salvador for the US Olympic team. Otherwise, Corona would have been in London. Elias Hernandez coming up next. Don't forget, Little League softball. Right after this momentous night here. And Chicharito Hernandez, and again Howard saves. How did he keep that out? The goalkeeper, an absolute hero. It will not go in for Chicharito tonight, but Howard has covered himself in glory.
You've got to be kidding me. And we thought the first save was a good one.
Look at Jurgen Klinsmann's face. He's loving this. He's fed up with hearing that stat about the USA never winning in Mexico, but they haven't won yet. There's still time for Mexico to claw this back, but it's getting late. It's getting very late. Here's Francisco Rodriguez. De Nigris with a good-looking ball towards the back post, and this time the header from Lugo. Not a threat to Howard. No pace on it.
I can guarantee you one thing. Chicharito will go to sleep tonight with Tim Howard in his dreams. Not only the first save, but have the wherewithal with his feet to get rid of that rebound.
4 minutes of stoppage time there's going to be. Mexico in a tearing rush now. The goalkeeper, Ochoa, has had almost nothing to do but pick the ball out of the back of his net. Chip on towards Elias Hernandez. Not a very artful ball. Too much pace on it. It's never going to work, really, that one. Enrique Perez has come on and plays for Morelia. So right back at the moment for Mexico. it is a bit ridiculous how many substitutions are allowed. I know the coaches like it, but it does sometimes spoil some of these friendlies for my money.
Well, it makes you and I work a little bit harder.
It does. Yeah, it's the commentators club having a moan. Again. Now this is dramatic stuff. Cameron, he's been brilliant at the back tonight, hasn't he, for the United States. And Maurice Aidoo there alongside him, usually a midfield player. He hasn't kicked a ball for the new Rangers setup. He looks to be on his way. Can't have been easy for him, but he's really done a job. And I'll tell you what, are Valencia watching?
Well, more importantly, look at future games now. When you have Maurice Aidoo, Jeff Cameron that can play defensive midfield or center back, that now provides you cover in multiple positions.
And the Jurgen Klinsmann era, so far the highlight, a win in Italy. He went on, of course, to reach the final of Euro 2012. This would be right up there alongside that, probably ahead of it in the eyes of American fans. Yeah.
No doubt in my mind, Ian.
Beating Mexico.
Because now you're going to come back in qualifying, hopefully next year, and that monkey's off your back.
Perez here, playing it inside. Elias Hernandez are trying to get some width into the action here. It's played in again towards De Nigris this time. And Carl Beckerman just, be calm, says Taylor alongside me, living every second like he's playing. Keep the ball, keep possession. But they can't get it. It's Mexico again.
But that comes from Terrence Boyd, recognizing that only 2+ minutes left. No reason to run to the corner. Stay central, get that ball from Beckerman and hold it.
Torres Nilo. It'll be a goal kick, and the USA will take forever to take this as well. Look at the clock, top left hand of your picture. Nearly there for Jurgen Klinsmann, who's trying to drum a new message into these players. Believe you can do things. Believe in a better USA side who can really get to the later stages of World Cups. They've really had to defend tonight. The defenders are the heroes, and it was a defender, a substitute, one at that. Michael Orozco Fiscal has put his name in the history books. Free kick's going to be given. DeMarcus Beasley just kicked the ball away. Might have got a booking for that if the referee had been in a bad mood. He doesn't seem to be. Where are we? 93-20, 40 seconds away. They're going to hit this long, put everybody forward, every green shirt here, Mexico, to try to save this and save some face against their bitter and deadly rivals. Back into by Zavala. USA, just one last bit of defending surely to do now. It's come out to Elias Hernandez, though. And whacked anywhere by Zusi, the length of the pitch. The referee blows. History is made. The United States, after 75 years of trying, have won in Mexico at the 25th attempt. Goalkeeper Tim Howard was an absolute hero with some brilliant saves, and Michael Orozco Fiscal has put his name in the Hall of Fame with the winner. Look what it means to the USA players.
It's been absolutely phenomenal defending from the group. You saw it this morning, though, in Jurgen Klinsmann's face. He really believed that they could come here and win. It takes a little luck. Tim Howard comes up huge, but Jeff Cameron, Maurice Aidoo, that back four was solid.
Whoa, getting the breath back from that. Brilliant stuff. Bob, take it over.
I'm standing here with two gentlemen who, between them, bled for this country. We're talking under umbrellas because liquids and objects are falling upon us. But Casey Keller and Alexi Lawless, you played between your two illustrious careers 5 matches here for the USA. Did you think it would end tonight coming in?
No. To be honest, no. But I'll tell you what, I'm emotional. And I know it's just a friendly, and this doesn't change everything. But that, my friends, is how you bridge the gap, at least for the night. And these players right now that we are seeing on the screen deserve a tremendous amount of credit, as does Jurgen Klinsmann. This was a good performance and one that they can take back incredible memories from, individually and collectively.
Yeah,
I'm proud of them. We should be proud.
What did you need to do? You needed to defend as a team. They did that extremely well. You needed your goalkeeper to come up with a couple big saves late. And you needed somehow, against the run of play, to scramble a ball into the back of the net. Brett Shea comes on, very positive, takes a guy on, gets a little fortunate with the cross off the deflection. Terrence Boyd keeps it alive. And Orozco finds himself in the box and knock it home. Excellent job all the way around, and a huge, huge win, and one in which this team and Jurgen Klinsmann can now say, you can go anywhere and get a victory.
The good hand save of the night, the All-State good hand save, no doubt about it, and they were two of them made by Tim Howard. How did he get his body to come back and make that save?
You know, the first one on the deflection, of course, Tim just able to get that body shape going the other way, reads the bounce, knocks it down, and then the second one, I think, is the biggest. They're throwing balls in the box. Chicharito gets the one-hand save, has the wherewithal to put his foot to kind of knock it back away, and then the guys did an excellent job of cleaning up after that.
Reminded me a little bit of you the evening the United States defeated Brazil.
Well, this is a big, big result. Mexico is our rival, Brazil isn't, so excellent, excellent result.
Brett Shea saved the game, changed the game. Orozco Fiscal put it at much more on an evening of history written by the USA in Mexico City. We'll be back. 1 year into his stewardship of the U.S. national team, this is the highlight. What gap for the moment, and a win for the ages, ending 75 years of ignominy and frustration and denial. The second guessing will begin in Mexico, but Jurgen Klinsmann can claim a victory in Mexico for the U.S. He's standing by with Monica Gonzalez.
Coach, how big is this win for the United States?
I think it's huge. It's huge for, I think, all American fans. It's huge for the team. And it's historic. I mean, we were very well aware that we've never won here at the Azteca Stadium. And this is an amazing experience for all the players. We told them before the game, this moment is for you. Go and grab it. We are well aware that, you know, it was a lot of work. Tim Howard kept us in the game. I don't know how many times. It's absolutely fantastic performance by Tim. But also the back line, they were just holding their strengths the whole 90 minutes, and it was a fantastic team performance. We know we still have to improve in many elements. We have to keep the ball longer. We have to create more chances. We have to do a lot of work still, but I think this gives us a lot of confidence.
Before the game, I asked you a question about your back line, about them playing together for the first time in this environment, and you looked at me and you said there's a first time for everything, and you winked, but you weren't talking about the back line, were you? You knew something.
Yeah,
how were you able to instill that mentality in your players?
Well, it's the belief, and it's a mental aspect of it. Eventually you need a little bit of luck too, and I think we were, in some instances, we were lucky tonight, and we had Tim Howard in our goal. But I think the team really, they knew what to expect. It was very difficult in high altitude. Many of them flying in from Europe 2 days ago. But we had a plan, and we tried to execute that plan. I mean, getting that win here, I mean, it's quite enjoyable.
Congratulations, Coach.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Monica. We saw history tonight. We came in talking about all the history in this marvelous stadium, but we saw a special page of history tonight.
It was wonderful. I'm so glad that we were here to witness this. Great players and great teams are able to access things in great moments, and this group that we just saw here today is going to be able to access this as a touchstone going forward, and it's going to help them.
Exactly, and the same thing. What are you going to do? Sometimes you have to defend as a team, fight, take the scraps when you get it. The team did exactly that. Tim comes up with 2 big saves late. 1-0 victory, USA.
History written for the first time in 75 years. Our next soccer broadcast Sunday, August 26th, Sporting Kansas City and New York Red Bulls square off at 9 Eastern on ESPN2. Stand by now for Little League Softball. For Ian Darby, Taylor Palmer, Monica Gonzalez, John Sutcliffe, Alexi Wallace, Casey Keller, I'm Bob Lee at Mexico City.